Hello, everybody. If it's Wednesday, it's Warhammer, and that must mean it's time for another episode of Warhammer Weekly. I'm on the road this week, as you can see, as is our guest. So there is lots of it's the hotel episode of Beasts of Chaos review. That's what we're doing today. Joining me, as always, it's Tom. How you doing, Tom?
Hello, friends.
Also joining us this week, a man I'm very happy to finally have on the show. Anthony, how you doing, buddy?
Good, thank you. Pleasure.
It's good to have you here. Both Anthony and I are traveling this week, so I found it ironic. We had scheduled this some time back with no concept that we would both be on the road, but or even like that this would be a Beast of Chaos week, really, because I think we scheduled this before we even knew the formal release date. But here it is, and now it's time. It's time to get beastly. We're going to be breaking down the book, talking about what's good, what's fun, what's bad, what's all those things. And this is a huge tome. Oh my God, there's so much in this. Tuck in for probably a decent sized show today. I'm just warning straight out. Fortunately, they were nice to us. I'm moving my camera here so I can see this side. Fortunately, they were nice to us because they gave us basically no news this week. So, Tom, what do we got for the news, buddy? No, I don't have a rumor engine picture ready that I can go to because I'm
you're in luck because I do.
Good. Do you already have the solved picture?
I don't, but I can probably go find it if you need me to.
No, it's fine. It's a Chaos 40k Sorcerer Lord from the new Blackstone thing.
Yep.
Done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like
it's fine.
It's the exact same like icon thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had the old Sorcerer, the old Finecast one or whatever, had this exact icon on his backpack. I also saw somebody on TGA pointed out that one of the previous rumor engines that was like a sort of the one that was like a pointed star.
Yep.
You know what I'm talking about with the lodestone in the middle? Looked an awful like the other side of his staff. Like, because originally he had like a staff and a plasma gun.
Yeah.
And that looked, it's not an exact match, but it was very similar. So it could have been a redesign of that.
Yep. Other things. Shadespire pre-order?
Yeah.
Shadespire's coming. Bunch of war bands. They're fun. Check them out. Kill Team Commanders. That news dropped. Sure. Yeah. There's like a unit champion, like not unit champions, but like named heroes with special skills and stuff is on the way, which is pretty sweet. More importantly to me are the starters for the Tau and the Necrons. So
yeah, I was happy to see that Tau one. I already have all my Necrons, so I probably won't pick that one up. But the Tau one's cool. I like that.
I'm sad about the Tau simply because I already had the 10 Fire Warriors. Sure. So like I already had that kit set. But the Necron was awesome because that's a great place to start right there. That and some Warriors, and you're basically done. So, and I love that you can get like the little battlefield wall thing. That's neat.
Sure. Good piece of terrain.
Yep. And then another kill zone, by the way, for those that haven't seen it, from the Wall of Martyrs, which like those kill zones, they're such a good deal for what they're giving you. So, So.
I mean, do we want to talk? I didn't update it, but we should obviously talk a bit about Facehammer, which was this last weekend.
Yeah. Oh, and Japan's GT.
Well, yeah, there was something like 5 GTs this last weekend around the world, or something. It was a pretty big series of tournaments. Tom, who won the Japan tournament? The first ever Age of Sigmar tournament in Japan. Who won it?
Caradron Overlords with a who went 4-1. To be clear, they still lost a game, but just everybody else in the lineup lost a game.
Hey, there you go. Who cares?
Game. Right, fine. Exactly. So they KO player took first with a 4-1. So
they're not dead, baby.
Shooting's back. It was dead. Now it's back. Just like that.
No, Ungor's beg to differ.
Ungor, the skinks of chaos, baby.
Yeah, shooting is back. Like, we're going to talk about that today. Shooting is back. Like 3 weeks ago, I said it was dead. I was right. I stand behind that judgment 3 weeks ago. Now it's back. Just like that. That's what happens. Things move quickly in AOS, folks. You got to be ready for these kinds of changes.
Oh, yeah.
KO won Japan. Daughters took Facehammer.
Yep, daughters took Facehammer.
It was funny because as was pointed out on Rob's show on the Honest Wargamer, the first place was a Daughters Army, and then the next Daughters Army was what, 30th?
No,
Yeah.
ninth, I think.
No, it was like 9th.
9th or 13th. He had it wrong originally. Yeah.
Okay.
It wasn't 13th. I think it was
no,
9th.
because David Griffin was 13th.
Oh, that's right, David.
That's the only reason why I know it wasn't 13th was I knew David was 13th.
Yeah.
Because our good buddy David Griffin, TO of NashCon, running the Legion of Blood. He had Legion of Blood nonetheless, and he took 13th. So, grats, David.
Yeah, and Domus took 23rd or 24th, but because the best in Alliance was based on kill points, Domus took first in Best Destruction because he basically would quad wog and basically would just smash the enemy. Somebody pointed out that award, I was chatting with him, and he said somebody pointed out that award was based on kill points, and so he immediately switched gears. And he's like, I'm just going to kill everything.
Tell me he does not have the face to just be yelling "wah" from the corner of a room. And that's not being mean. He's a lovely man, but I mean,
and I'm sure he was. I'm sure he was wogging.
Exactly.
As well, you should.
Barry took, I think, 63rd at Facehammer. So rounding out the bottom tables. So.
And by the way, let me be clear. Domus took 23rd. Tom McClure slipped in 22nd. His travel buddy.
I saw that. Way to go, Tom.
With flesh eater cords, right?
With flesh eater cords.
Flesh eater cords. Yeah.
No, it's awesome. So and then what other surprises were at Facehammer?
Phoenix Temple still at the top of the heap.
Thanks, Chris Tomlin. You're working hard. You're skewing those LLV results with his double meteor. So kudos to you. And what else? Trying to remember what else was up there. It was what I would kind of anticipate. There weren't a lot of really skewy or surprise results. Destruction took second. Mixed Destruction took second. I think Sylvaneth took third, maybe.
Was it Mixed Destruction? Was it Bone Splitters? It was Bone Splitters with T-Frog.
No, it was Bone Splitters took 7th.
Oh, okay.
Bone Splitters took 7th, and I think it was a Mixed Destruction took 2nd. And then, so it's, it was good. The Doc Army that took first was a triple Witch Elf block, so 90 Witch Elves, which I can definitely respect, as I have that built over here. But he went with a double tower, so 2 towers build. So he went with basically 2 cauldrons. There's a couple different ways that you can go once you get to the point of 90. 2 cauldrons is one of those build options. So kudos to the performance there. I think, is that the first Doc win, or is that the second one?
What, for actual first?
Yeah, first. I think it's the second.
It's taken
one.
first before.
Yeah. So, people realize just how strong Doc is. I'm afraid.
And since clearly we're terrible at recounting these individual results, I'll link out to Facehammers because we're just being terrible about actually properly recounting the results and butchering it, because that's the level of quality we deliver here.
Second, 7th, it's all the same.
Yeah, I'll link out to Facehammer's Twitter, and you can. He has the results posted there.
Yeah.
So everybody can go look at that.
That's what I got.
Cool. Yeah, it's like I said, it wasn't a big news week, although except for the return of shooting. I think that's really the biggest news.
Oh my god.
Yes.
No, it's always been here. I've said that.
Well, it was dead, but now it's back.
You turned your tail and ran from that. Don't lie.
Exactly. Yeah, it's back now.
I took a local event. I took a local event with my mixed order shooting list in 2.0.
Kind of had some shooting.
No. It was my old list.
I mean, look, you were kind of shooting.
Oh my.
At any rate, let's talk about some pick of the week. Anthony, since you're up first, what would you like to share with everybody?
So I started a GoFundMe page to buy Vince a Warlord Titan. No, I joke. I thought about it, but then I was like, no, I couldn't in good conscience do that.
No, please, no, dear Lord. Just so everybody understands, please keep that a joke. Like, there's no way that should ever happen. If you want to start a GoFundMe, please give your money to a charity, to kids in need, to something important in the world. Having a giant toy for me is not a worthwhile thing. If maybe 10 years from now, I'll buy the stupid thing and I'll paint it. Okay. There you go.
You have no idea how many people who have reached out to me and be like, so should we start a GoFundMe? I'm like, no.
Man, that's not the other problem. I couldn't in good conscience do that. No, just Facebook, the Chaos GT Facebook page. I'm still trying to plug Jacob Burleson, a friend of mine, for his tournament. I was the first person to sign up for his tournament when he officially announced it. You two suckers are bailing and not coming, even though I'm going to drive 12 hours to get there and fly out first thing Monday morning for Orlando and all that good stuff. But it's okay. You guys can bail.
I mean,
it's going to be a good time, though.
That's like, and the dates on that are October
6th and 7th.
Yep.
So like next week.
Yep. I will be in Orlando. During that time.
So it's a quick jaunt. I mean, it's a couple hour drive. It'll be fine.
But
he's using the NashCon terrain, which I did happen to print some of, which he's going to be using, and so the tables will be nicely decorated, which I'm a big fan of. So it'll be a good time. We should have a lot of fun. And at the cafe, they're going to have beer flowing, so it'll be really good. Jacob Barry will be wearing his nice tights, running around in his leggings, and it should be fun.
Excellent. It's not a proper tournament if Jacob's not in his wild bangarang. I don't even know what to do with myself.
I even asked, I said, did you wear them at Facehammer? He said, do you even need to ask? I was like, just wanted to make sure.
Absolutely. Sure. No, that's great. I'm glad to hear it. For those of you who are uninitiated to the wonders of Jacob and the wild bangarang leggings, I'm sorry, you've missed out on truly a great experience in life. All right, Tom, what about you, buddy? What are you sharing?
I am going to promote, in related to Facehammer, is for those that don't know, Chris Tomlin. Chris is a staple of the UK scene. He has a podcast. I'm gonna go encourage you to go follow Chris on Twitter. He had a wonderful set of. He recorded a wonderful set of photos from Facehammer, and he documented it well, and so go check it out.
Okay, I feel like there's a hidden agenda here, but I'm in for it. I'll link his Twitter down below. Can only be positive.
And he really had some sweet, he's recently put up some sweet photos. By the way, we were talking about the Phoenix Temple. We were making a joke about skewing the results. Chris is the one that's running Phoenix Temple at the events over there. And he's doing
a pretty great looking army.
It's beautifully painted too.
Exactly. Yeah, and so it's in his
really
feed.
Undercutting it, to be honest. Beautifully painted is like, there are lots of beautifully painted armies in the world. His is pretty standout.
Yes, no, absolutely.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. It's sharp. And so I would highly encourage folks to go check out his feed, and on there you will find his army, as well as a bunch of photos from Facehammer.
Excellent. Well, I have a two-part suggestion. So first off, let's say you get done with this show, and we've reviewed the Beasts of Chaos, and you're like, well, that's some good hours of Beasts of Chaos review, but I need 3 hours more of Beasts of Chaos review. Well, in that event, then you should go watch Mr. Doom and Darkness, who sat down with Smorgan from Dwellers, as well as, I don't remember who else joined him, I'm sorry, but he did a 3-hour review. And they go in pretty good detail over just about everything. As well, then if you finish that, and you're now almost 6 hours or 5 or 6 hours into your whatever you're doing, painting, I assuming, and you're like, but I need more. Well, guess what? Doom just finished up a 4.5-hour video with himself and Halo, Twitch, and AOS Coach, where they're going over the lists for I think it's Sydney GT. I think one of the upcoming GTs. I apologize if I'm getting
in Australia.
My Australian town GT combination name wrong. But anyways, they're going over the lists, and it's at 10 hours plus of content. I feel you should be able to get whatever Beast of Chaos units you're working on and getting the table ready. This is your table ready plan right here. 10 hours of painting content ready to go. There you go.
Why stop at 10 hours when you can just then pop on Rob at The Honest Wargamer and watch his 4-hour review too? Go straight through the day.
Straight through. Never stop watching content and painting. Chain yourself to your desk. Okay? There is no reason to ever leave. Only paint. All right. So there you go. Very good. AOS coach confirmed. It is Sydney GT. Yes. Nailed it. Okay. I'm pretty excited because I've been on the road. I haven't watched the whole 4.5-hour one. I did watch the 3-hour one before I left. But I have got that one teed up for this weekend because we'll transition right into hobby time. But watching Doom's 4.5-hour show is absolutely, I was so thrilled when I saw it get posted because I was like, yes, I plan on basically chaining myself to my desk this weekend because I've been traveling and I feel a lack of painting. I was so thrilled to see I was going to have content to entertain me. Speaking of hobby time, Anthony, what have you been working on?
So I just got word from my wife that a very large box from Mini Stomp has shown up at my house today with a bunch of my Beasts of Chaos stuff. So that will be waiting for when I get back. Before I left on Monday, I had gotten the bits in for my Shaggoth conversion. I started working on that. So I have a Star Drake body mostly assembled for the start of that. And then I've just been, I printed I do a lot of 3D printing. So I printed out some combat gauges for Chaos GT. So everybody that attends will get a nice 3D printed combat gauge.
And they look great.
And thank you. And then I've been working on another project on the 3D printer that people will see eventually, I'm assuming. And I mentioned nothing else.
Uh-huh.
And then I'm gonna continue printing more terrain because I told David Griffin eventually I want NashCon to have over 100 players and I want good terrain on every table. So he needs to start looking for warehouse space to start storing all the terrain I'm going to print just for that event.
That's so awesome. By the way, as an aside, if you can't figure it out, Anthony is super generous with his printing services. And I know that both Vince and myself have been benefactors of that. And so, Anthony, I just want to publicly thank you.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
I like to share when I can.
No, it's appreciated. And the work you did with the terrain at NashCon last year was amazing. And it should also be noted that Anthony is who we're working with to bring some. So if you've seen the mug that I have, or the apron, or the T-shirt that I have, Anthony is also who we're working with to make that happen. So we're going to basically, I'll have a video up within the next week, and we'll talk about our next week's show. But we're going to put out an order for some, people can order some Warhammer Weekly stuff with Tom and I's funny little character on there. If you're at all interested, I'm happy we were able to do it. This is not like a profit center for us or something. It's just people asked for it. So we recruited Anthony, who brought his family into the deal and is helping us make it happen. So I'm very grateful for it. And we'll have that Warhammer, that sweet Warhammer Weekly swag coming very soon in the next week. Details to come. So
there you go.
There you go. Tommy, what's on your hobby table, my friend?
Not a lot. I've honestly haven't, since I did the snipping and all that last week, while I was traveling, I did one more night of that. And then I haven't actually touched hobby since then. So I've taken the last couple days off. I've did a lot of traveling and everything. And now I'm just getting back to my daughters. So I have some work to do because I'm about to leave again for another 10 days to Orlando. So, Vince, we may not have an army to partner with you. Just saying. That may not happen.
You have Nurgle.
Yeah, exactly.
that when you get back, you're going to get it done, Tom.
Yeah, we'll see
believe
about
in
that.
you. Because even if you only get to 1,000 points, you just pull a me. That's fine. Just paint something. Paint an extra cauldron. You can do it. I believe in you. I'm sure you can make it happen. The comment was asked, or a question was asked in the comments, Anthony, and so I feel it is relevant. Somebody asked the perhaps reasonable question of, but Anthony, isn't a Star Drake body far too large for the Shaggoth, who I believe is on like a 60 mil base normally?
No, he's on a 92
Oh, that's right.
by
He's on a
50 or
92.
whatever.
You're right. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, well, so I reached out to a bunch of the TOs and asked if they would be okay with running a Star Drake, on the I think it's the 120 oval. And Steve Herner said at the Holy Wars event it would be fine, but Adepticon told me no, so I'm going to boycott Adepticon. I joke, no. I completely understand their reasoning behind it, because the aura that model projects for different synergies could greatly be skewed by the bigger base. So at that point, that one will probably just sit on my display board as a piece, and I'll have another Shaggoth to go in its place for that.
You could fit him on the 90 and still
No,
have
that
a
would
huge
look
base.
stupid.
No,
I refuse.
no.
I know. Just bulk him up.
You build it out, baby. You build it out.
Yeah, you start low, and then you put a terrain piece on top of the 90, and then you put him on top of it. No, you convince him.
Yeah.
Look, that's what I like. My original Warlord for the first Holy Havoc is on like a 60 mil round or whatever it is. Like the base is that big, and then like the actual thing he's sitting on is like this big around. It's almost the size of it's like 120, 130 millimeter round sitting on basically like
it's
built
embarrassing.
up off the castle.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah, you don't have to
I've been struggling with that, because I want it to look cool. I was also tempted to go through instead of building it with all GW parts, Mirce makes some really nice what could be Shaggoths. But then with the Warhammer Citadel down in Texas now, it's feasible that I could want to jump down there for a game next year, and then it'd have to be all GW stuff. So that's so many ideas, and we'll see where it all takes me.
Sure. I'm just saying, don't discount the 92 so quickly. Like you could even have it because when I think of the Shaggoth, like in my head, when I picture the Shaggoth, he's mounted on like a rocky outcropping as he's cresting like a rocky outcropping at night while lightning strikes behind him and he's like silhouetted, right? That's the image of the Shaggoth, right? Yeah. So just build that rocky outcropping up and out of the base and then mount him on it. Boom, done. And clearly he would be your Shaggoth alpha, right?
Yeah.
Because like all these things are the alphas. So they're supposed to be bigger.
That would work perfect too, because the thought I'm thinking, even though I probably won't use any of the realm artifacts, is do it from the realm of fire. And I rewatched your lava base making technique 3 times this weekend, getting underneath him while he stands up on this giant, platform of rock and whatnot. So the 92 will just be lava, and then he'll be sitting up on like a 160 dinner plate on top.
Yeah, it checks out. I'm down with it.
Legit.
Yep.
Nice.
There you go.
Talk me into it. That's what's happening. Done.
Excellent. All right, we've solved the problem. I love it. Boom. We're back on track. For myself, before I left, it's Night Titan Week 2 time. This is the long period in the middle. This is the freehand phase of working on the Night Titan. It's back at my desk. So, as with every one of these, I have to take it farther than I did before. As I ever try to push myself with that thing. And there'll probably be a video related to that. So we'll see when that comes out. But that's where I'm at. But we're making progress. We're making progress. He's getting there. I love those stupid robots. They're so much fun. I actually had to go the distance to make myself like a Post-it note of all the like large projects I have planned to make sure I could remember all of them. And I did get some Beast of Chaos stuff. So I'm going to use that like in the middle to break up these big multi-week projects, right? Like if I just need like a day project in the middle, I'll crack out the Herdstone and get it done, right? Or something like that. Or get out 10 Ungor and knock them out. Something like that is just fun, right? A little bit of I think of them, the Beasts of Chaos are like the sorbet of the Warhammer project world here.
Palate cleansers.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So yeah, that progresses along. All right. As always, we hope that the show is providing you with some kind of white noise, mildly interesting entertainment that you're using to get your hobby done and fighting the war against the gray. But many of you, I would suspect, might be thinking about we're working on some Beasts of Chaos, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So, are you ready to get beastly?
Battle Tome Zangor.
All right. So here's our official rating system for this show. Okay? We have a different rating system. Is everybody ready? Is everybody ready for the new official rating system?
No.
Okay.
Can you? Okay, there you go. Thank you. Somebody answer me. All right. Am I delayed, or is it just, or were you just really thinking?
No, I'm pretty lethargic about the whole project.
Oh, you're ridiculous. All right. So here's the new rating system for today. Okay, everything gets a rating of either like you can say you don't care. Like we can say we don't care, and that's fine. Like sort of that's neutral. That's just nothing. Yep. All right.
Yep.
So either it's going to be beast mode. That means good. That's a good thing, right? So beast mode is the good one. All right. And then bullshirt is the bad one. All right. There you go. So that's our good and bad. Beast mode and bullshirt.
Wow.
All right. Everybody ready?
No.
That's what we're doing today, folks. Those are the new ratings. Tuck into it. Get on board. Don't fight it. Steer into it. Okay. Now, let's begin.
All right. Wait, it's not bad.
Yep. There you go.
And there's that.
That can be in there too. I'm with that as well. All right. But now you have to make that noise every time. You just introduced that, so now that's a thing. So congratulations on that. All right. So let's start out. Let's just talk about general overview of the army. So Anthony, you want to kick us off? Your general feelings on the Force. Like, what do you think of the book? What do you think of the Force in its new form? In general, how you feeling?
I'm excited about it. I think it's really, really unique in the fact that this is the first army that has 3 command abilities active at all times. If you're running all 3 parts of the faction of the beasts being pulled back in under, one banner. There's a lot of good updates, balanced updates for things like Zangor. And
fuck you.
Poke the back.
Everybody gets what we get one and remain PG-13, so that's fine. All right,
Good.
Jeez, Tom, strong feelings.
Getting it out there early. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of different ways that this army can be played to, based on individual play styles. You can play it fast. You can play it semi-defensive. You can, go very skink of chaos, heavy Ungor Raiders and go in and shoot a lot of stuff, or you can try to go monster mash and just send headbutting gargants all over the place. There's just a lot of different things that is in this book that I really enjoy it. I'm excited about.
Nobody's doing a whole thing of headbutting gargants. I don't care if Vince has all those painted. They're gonna do chimeras. They're gonna do flights of chimeras.
Yes. But that's not as funny.
To be fair, I've got 5 chimeras too, so I'm ready for either. I'm ready for any eventuality. All right, Tom, what do you think? What's your 40,000 foot vision of this book?
It is going to flood the board with models, and I think that it's going to be. I think it'll have a strong showing, is what I would say. It's not gonna. I don't think it's gonna There's no runaway cheese, but there's some really good stuff in here.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good wrap up.
Yeah.
my general feeling is, first off, the book's beast mode. I'm putting that out there right now. We're starting with this new rating system. We're doing it. Don't fight it. I love it. I think that I really thought as I was reading it, I was so happy at all of the different armies I was thinking of as I was reading the book. You know what I mean? Like I mean that in like the most fun way possible, right? Like I was reading over all this stuff and all I could think was, oh man, I would like to build an army that does this kind of thing, right? Or I would like to build an army that does this kind of thing. Like there was just so many different forces that just immediately popped into your head as you're reading. I agree. I don't think everything is a flood of like a sort of horde or a flood of models either. I think that's certainly viable.
No, yeah. I mean, like the Thunderscorn,
Dragon Ogres only, baby.
Yeah,
and I think that's
Domus, by the way, posted
a
wonderful Dragon Ogre list that was like 150 wounds at 4-up save.
Literally, like
again,
right after, right before Nova, actually, I was talking with Jacob Berry, and I said, I want to play something different. I'm going to retire my Lizards for next year. I need a new army, but I want something lower model count that no one's playing. And I went, I'm going to play Thunderscorn. And I wrote a list that's all Dragon Ogres, like 1 Shaggoth, 2 Bray Shaman. And this was literally a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, before the book had even been talked about. No one knew it was coming. And as soon as we saw it, he looked at me and he went, yeah, now you've got to do that. And I went, oh, okay.
Well, now everybody's going to do that. That's the problem.
I know. Now it's not what I was planning, but that's fine. It's okay.
I mean, it's not Phoenix Temple.
No.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, yeah, you're way ahead of the curve on that one, Tom.
I'm not. Chris Tomlins are way ahead of the curve.
You're both at the bleeding edge here of the curve, as it were.
Yeah.
So overall, I'm really happy with everything I saw here, and we're going to get into it. So let's dig into it. We mentioned the 3 allegiance abilities. So people have talked about these a million times. They spoiled them on the site. We're not going to dig deep, but we'll just very quickly here. Obviously, we've got, as mentioned, your individual factions, as it were, retain their own allegiance abilities when they're in there. That is to say, they each have specific things that will apply to them, no matter how you've built the force.
And so realistically, it's just tied to keywords.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
It's basically like they're pitching it as there's like you can maintain these abilities no matter what. No, it's just that they have 3 allegiance abilities that are keyword specific.
Yeah. So exactly, sure. One is the Brayherd ambush, where you can take half your units off the table, and they have to come in round 1, right? From a board edge
or round
standard.
2.
Well,
depending.
As written, round 1.
Yeah.
I'm just talking straight out. Thunderscorn get like super Iron Fist movement, where you roll 1 die in the hero phase, and everybody moves that far.
It's so good.
I mean, it hurts the turn you roll a 1, and you're just like, oh, now I got to move all these units at inch, or just add 1 inch to their movement when it comes time to move. But there are ways to deal with that as well. And then the Minotaurs get Blood Gorge, which is basically at the end of the combat phase, if any attacks made by them destroyed any enemy units, then you get to heal D3 wounds to that Warherd unit. Probably, I think the weakest of the 3 outright goes to the Blood Gorge. Although I wouldn't say it's bad. I wouldn't go that far. Because, I mean, what you've got to think of with that Warherd ability is that it is a way to heal or more heal, as I say.
Right.
Your Gorgons, your whatever. Your big monsters that happen to also have the Warherd keyword, right? Yeah. For Doom Bulls to heal themselves, stuff like that. Yeah, it's true that like your unit of Minotaurs probably isn't getting a huge amount of mileage out of that. Maybe they heal a wound or 2. Yay. But the reality is healing heroes or monsters is always pretty good and not a thing you have any other real ability to do.
Right.
And if Gorgons get into something unmolested, like there's plenty of ways we're going to talk about that they can end that thing real fast. They're not a weak unit by any stretch of the imagination. There is a loser in the Gorgon Cygor battle, but we'll get there. And then obviously we also have our Herdstone. We'll talk about that later on when we talk about the Herdstone scroll, but you get a set of a piece of terrain called the Herdstone. And then you also have your Primordial Call, which is your summoning mechanic. You get one, I'm just going to call them summoning points for our purposes. You get one summoning point a turn automatically. You can do D3 mortal wounds to a unit near the Herdstone and throw their bodies on the pyre, and for everything you do, for every wound that you do, you then get another summoning point. There are ways to get more summoning points we'll talk about later.
Yep.
But effectively, if you do nothing else, if you just run the army straight, every round you get a D3 plus 1 summoning points, right? And you can summon all sorts of stuff starting at 3 points, where you can get 10 Ungors, which I think is funny. I think that's hilarious. Because
the mass Ungor regeneration train.
Yeah, exactly. Like the Ungor train is real. If you want to just flood Ungors, like you can just sort of flood Ungors. Like on dice, killing Ungors, you'll kill 2 Ungors a turn on average to get 10 Ungors. That's a pretty good Ungor return rate, right?
Ungor is the new currency. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's funny. But then obviously you can go up from there to 5 points for a cockatrice, 7 points for for dragon ogres or enlightened on disc, up to 10 for the Gorgon and the Chimera and stuff like that. So, and these things when they get summoned come on from the board edge.
Chimera, please.
Yeah.
Sure. The Chimera's he's a real winner. Don't get me wrong. Like that dude's he's a great summon.
10 points is a lot. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but the mechanic for it, 10 points is a lot.
It's a lot unless you've built your list
Correct.
around the summoning engine. Yeah, which I'm sure we'll talk about, because as we go through this stuff, we're not just going to talk, we're given the high level now, but when we get into this, we're going to start talking about how we've been synergizing all day. So we're going to be talking about some combos and some synergies and stuff like that.
One thing on the summoning, the thing I like the most about it, unlike any of the other armies that have a summoning mechanic, when you summon something here, it comes on any board edge, just like it was ambushing. So I need something on that side of the board, and there's 9 inches away from an enemy. Okay, I can summon 10 Ungors and just put them over there. Thank you.
You don't need to be near one of your own heroes.
Yeah,
right. As often summoning has to be near one of your own heroes. Yeah. Yep. Depending on the scenario, that can be, more or less beneficial. It's funny how susceptible their sort of board edge ambush, whether through summoning or through the Brayherd ability, is to the scenario itself, right? If you're a standard horizontal deployment, it could be very likely that you just have no room to go anywhere behind them, right? Because any player worth assault can easily block that space, easily, almost by default, even accidentally. But if you're on a lengthways deployment or a diagonal deployment, the world can suddenly get very different very fast, right? And I'll say out of the gate that this army, I can't imagine with any build I've looked at ever wanting to go first.
No.
I think this army is built to, well, first off, we'll talk about battalions later, but there are 10 different options to 1-drop with this army. Right. I mean, it is not hard to 1 or 2-drop with this army.
Mm-hmm.
And so you'll often have choice. And I can't picture a world where I don't give that to the other person. I don't know why I would ever take the first turn with this army.
If Bestigor is running across the table because they are super, super fast.
It's suicide. That's just giving the game away.
Right.
No, I don't disagree. You can easily get your Bestigors, your Dragon Ogres. You can get a huge chunk of your army into their line turn 1. I don't disagree. Okay? But, this army doesn't hurt for killing power. You know what I mean? It has plenty of hitting power. So, if somebody's on an objective, you have an ability in this army to pull them off.
Right.
And the closer they get to you, the worse it gets for them. Because they're theoretically walking near your Herdstone, which is eroding their armor. They're walking into your spell range, which can erode their armor, right? I do not know. The alpha strike out of this army is dumb. Always make them go first, because then at worst, they clear space in their backfield for you to ambush anything on, even if you're not doing ambush as your main strategy, right? Even if you only got maybe 1 or 2 small units in ambush just cuz to put pressure, great. They probably just opened up space for you.
And I think that's the best way to use the ambush too. I think if building around the ambush is wrong with this army just because of the units you have to ambush with. You're better off with, maybe one max size block of Ungor Raiders, but wait till turn, the end of turn 1 or end of turn 2 even potentially, and pop them in the backfield.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So any other thoughts we have on sort of the general stuff before we get into the specifics?
Yeah.
Okay. Then let's get into some specifics. Let's talk command traits. Everything in this book is divided up into basically 3 groups, right? So you've got your Brayherd stuff, your Warherd stuff, and your Thunderscorn stuff.
Yep.
So out of all of these things, what stood out to you guys? Like what jumped out at you as being beast mode on this list and or bad? Yeah, we're doing it.
For Brayherd, Bestial Cunning jumps out to me, which allows you to ambush, like set up, let them set up in the second movement phase instead of the first. And so it'll let you delay the ambush. I think that will be valuable.
Sure.
Ancient Beyond Knowing for your
Indeed.
Dragon Ogre Shuggoth. D3 command points before the game starts, not your turn, before the game starts.
Yeah,
at the start of the first battle round. Yeah, regardless of whether you go first. Yeah, I mean, maybe the most beast mode on this list. There'd be an easy argument that is the hot pick. D3 command points.
I mean, I hear that. I really like Father of the Storm,
which is also amazing.
Yes,
which Father of the Storm lets you re-roll that run, that free movement dice in the hero phase. Yep. It's so good. Can we talk?
Let's just break this down with how we really think. The Thunderscorn command traits are amazing.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could see arguments for 4 of these, probably maybe 5 are at least decent.
Yes.
Okay. It is the most amazing command trait list I have seen them print thus far. What have you got? Magnetic Monstrosity. Enemy units can't retreat. Always powerful. Always. Yes. Being able to shut off retreat is insanely good. It's the thing that makes Household scary, right, in Sylvaneth. Making it so you can re-roll the die for your Thunderscorn units as long as the general's alive. Period. Right? So no longer you get 2 shots at it. Amazing. The Lightning Fast Monstrosity, where if your general's fighting, basically they automatically Quicksilver Potion. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that's what it is, but they do it every round. Right? As long as they're charging. And by the way, you can turn a Shaggoth into a fairly decent combatant pretty easy. Yes. Between his own buffs and giving him a decent magic item and saying, go to town, buddy. He's not the worst guy in the world. No. The Ancient Beyond Knowing, D3 bonus command points, and even Adamantine Scales, so you can set him at a base 3 up.
Which is the worst.
It's an improvement to his save characteristic.
Yeah, it's the worst, but still very good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bonkers list. The hard part, the only thing that makes me sad there is that they don't have
any way to get multiples.
Yeah, that they don't have like a Slanesh way that I can cheat into double command traits. Yeah,
that would be amazing if you could.
Yeah. Honorable mention, by the way, should go to the Warherd Alpha Beast trait for Rugged Hide, or as I like to call it, Ironclad. Right? Because that's what it is. It's just Ironclad. Now, it's not as good. This ability it's the same ability. It's literally the exact same ability. But it's a lot weaker on an 8-wound Doom Bull than it is on a 14 or 15 wound Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. Yeah. Right. To be fair. But still a great ability.
It's the only ability on the Warherds I really care about too, to be honest. The other ones are okay, but
Yeah, the other one that I don't hate is the Rampant Juggernaut, where you get to reroll charge rolls for friendly Warherd if they're wholly within 12 of the general. It's not that hard to keep 3 Minotaurs and a Gorgon or something wholly within 12 of your general. That's a pretty big bubble, right? And just having basically what's a command point effect for free. And by the way, those guys get I think the big power to that is if you're running Darkwalkers, which we'll talk about, because Darkwalkers suddenly let your Warherd ambush.
And your Thunderscorn.
Yeah, indeed. But like what this means, and by the way, your Minos, your Bulgors are going to, or whatever you're going to call them, they have a built-in charge bonus themselves, right?
So
Like
they'll
they
make
have
that gap.
So yeah, suddenly you're on like when you ambush them in, you're suddenly on rerollable 8s, right? Like that's a pretty decent shot you've got of getting there with doing nothing else, right? I'm saying like you could play with that number in other ways, obviously. We're not talking about cogs. All right, this is the thing. So like that's the one thing I'll say. So you want to see like Doom's whole show, he was like assume cogs, and every time it's like, well, they go this far and this far with cogs and this far. I'm not banking on ever getting our thing. Like I'm not doing it. So
well, you don't have to, because if you don't do it, your opponent will have it on.
Sure. Everybody always has cogs. It's just constantly up now. Yeah. Great.
That's what I was going to say. I don't need to take cogs. My opponent will always have them.
Yeah. Yes. So let's just say it once here and go, yeah, in the army that can run and charge and is a foot slogging army that wants to run real fast around the battlefield, yeah, cogs is pretty good. Duh. Okay, cool. Do we all understand that the thing that makes you faster in the army that wants to go fast is pretty good? Sweet. We're aligned. Okay. Now we don't have to mention that anymore. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's the command stuff. Anything else you want to mention? I mean, there's a couple really bad ones in here. Like, they are bad in the extreme.
Well, no one's going to take those, though.
Yeah, I understand. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is stuff in here that I'm just like, what? What were you? What? How did you print one and even get this on list? Like, I can't even picture the fun list that has some of these, right?
There's this situational one, but it's like I would need to be able to change my command trait every game in a tournament if I was going to take some of these. Like, Malevolent Despoiler for Bright Heart. Oh, I'm going up against Idneth. Cool, I'm taking that. None of your guys have cover. I don't care. Suck it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like Malevolent Despoiler is super strong against somebody like Idneth, right? Like no doubt about it. And by the way, I don't hate Malevolent Despoiler. I think there's a really interesting army in here that's about punishing people with terrain features. Like there's a very funny skew build that's all about exploiting terrain that I'm kind of fascinated by.
It's the I hate you Sylvaneth players. Like this is the Sylvaneth hunting beast like
they hate. Yeah, you can honestly build something in here that's like, oh, I'm going to do 3d3 mortal wounds to anybody near this terrain feature today. Screw you.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just like there's a sort of fascinating weird build in there of these guys. I like how it comes out in the army because like they hate civilization, they hate these kinds of things. So when people are near this stuff, they actually have this. They actually have this sort of ability there. And what I'll say is that like thematically, I don't know. Like maybe the daughters felt the same, but like the sort of verisimilitude of the army, where like what it's all about manifesting in their rules. This is probably just like on the same level as daughters as to I feel like how they hit the nail so square on the head with these guys.
Yeah.
Like you absolutely get what they're about just reading the rules. Okay. Let's talk about artifacts. So artifacts are always tough. Like the artifact lists are very funny to me now because every artifact is competing against like the realm artifacts.
Yep.
Right? And so you're always up against like the 8 best artifacts in the game, basically. Like there's a couple on people's individual lists that are better, but it's, honestly, the realm artifacts are almost always the superior choice against most everything right now. Okay.
Yep. Do you think, side note, do you think that's why they have started like with all those different like enclaves and, the herds here, they force you to take one artifact? Because you can just reach out and grab the best here, the best there. So now, no, you're going to have to take this one from us if you're going to stick with this.
Yeah, it's opportunity cost. Like you're paying for, Gabe Spawn or Dark Walkers or whatever through the opportunity cost. Like they're absolutely intentional. They know what they're doing. Yeah. They're giving you some subpar choices intentionally, and that's how it's paying for your abilities. Yeah. Like, yeah, they know what they were all about. Like this isn't. It's not accidental that there's always some kind of like items in those chambers. Like, what do you think? They just didn't get it? No, they They're very intentional about that
Right.
design. They've been very open about that, and rightly so. That's exactly the right way to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Make real decisions at real cost.
Yeah, absolutely. It lets them build this stuff in without needing to worry about points. They can just do it through the opportunity cost in the game by using the existing choice mechanics. Obviously, if you ever played Tom and I's version of Mordheim that we released for AOS, you know we love opportunity cost and choice mechanics. So yeah, I fully support this.
Yep.
Okay. So, but that being said, let's talk about some art. Any beast mode items in here for you guys? Anything that jumped out at you?
It depends on the build is the problem to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
You know,
Now,
like,
we should start by saying it's hard to imagine the Beast of Chaos army that doesn't have a battalion.
yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Like, I think almost by default, you have some kind of battalion,
Yes.
right?
Oh yeah.
And so you do always, so you got to think about this like, okay, I've always got 2 magic items, right?
Mhm. Yep.
All right. So given that's sort of the frame of mind we're operating in here, I agree with you that a lot of this is build dependent. I don't disagree. So what jumps out at you with the synergistic builds? You know, answer with that in mind. That's okay. We don't need to say like it's generically good.
I mean, the Bright Blast Trumpet, if you're going to ambush stuff, you know, if you're within 18 inches +1 to hit on all those attacks, I'll take that on my Ungor Raiders. I'll take that on my Bestigors coming in.
Sure. It's +1 to hit, period.
Yeah.
Right? So it works on the shooting attacks of things like Ungor. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
If you're building a summoning one, the Knowing Eye for the extra command points, or even if you're going Gave Spawn as a second artifact here for that, so that you can make your Chaos Spawns give out additional attacks. I've got extra command points.
Yep. Yeah, I really like I think the Knowing Eye is honestly really solid. I think I agree with you that there's 2 different interesting builds for it. I'll talk about it when we get to All Hurt or whatever. But what summoning engine and how like the Knowing Eye is absolutely one of the artifacts you need for the summoning engine list.
Yeah.
Right. Where you're just like genning command points just to turn into summoning.
I mean, the Knowing Eye even comes in handy because, again, you've got low bravery across the board on a lot of these things. So you might need an extra command point here or there for, I need those guys to stick around. Right. So I need that inspiring presence.
Yeah, and I mean, unlike the other versions of this, it's on a 4-up.
Yeah,
right. So
nice.
50-50 shot, you're getting that bonus command point. It's pretty sweet.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a fan of the Horn of the Tempest. From the Thunderscorns, wholly within 18 of the bearer. This is for Thunderscorn, obviously. They at the start of the charge phase, you can make a charge move in that phase, even if they ran in the same. So it gives them run and charge within within 18, wholly within.
Yep.
Which is nice for Thunderscorn.
Yeah, it's like the Thunderscorn are so stupid fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like with almost no work.
Well,
they're so stupid fast.
They are your Ironjaw's pigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is 100%. What they are.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. They're your Ironjaw's pigs. Yep. And they are so bonkers fast in this. I agree. Like that item can it turns them up to 11, right? Where they are just zipping across the battlefield at an unreasonable speed. They are everywhere you need them to be, which is very powerful because, as you said, they're your mobile anvil. I mean, I'm not saying they don't hit hard. They hit perfectly hard enough, but they're same as pigs. But they're really a mobile anvil, right? Yeah. They're just a big chunk of wounds at a 4-up save. You can swing across the battlefield at ridiculous speed and slam into something to pin it, right?
Yep.
And do some damage in the process.
I mean, I also like the Ruinous Icon for Thunderscorn.
Yep.
Especially if my Shagoff is
spell ignore.
Yeah, going out and I'm maybe he's got the trait where you can't retreat from him, and now people are tempted to cast spells against him. Nagash comes in with his Hand of Dust, 4-up, piss off, Nagash.
Sure. I mean, you do have to be careful with that though, because it's each time you're affected by a spell or in the spell period.
Right.
Yeah.
Not enemy.
So technically, it would be your own spells. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Didn't think of that.
Yes, you got to watch that because and that's relevant because the Shaggoth can shoot himself with his own spell.
Yeah.
And it's it's pretty good if you're trying to get him into combat to kill something. You don't want him shaking off his own spell on a 4-up.
Yeah.
The Tanglethorn familiars Tanglehorn, also a worthwhile beast mode mention, or as I call it, the anti-Nagash. As everyone calls it. That's not me. I didn't make that up. Anybody who reads it calls it that. Because basically it's, once per battle at the start of the enemy hero phase.
Yep.
Right? You pick a wizard if you're within 12 inches of them, and they can't cast any spells that hero phase.
Yeah, it's like the Mind Lock staff for Stormcast.
Yep.
Yep. And
obviously that's, shutting off a Marathi for a round is good. Shutting off an Archon for a round is good. Shutting off Nagash for a round is amazing, right? Like even one round less of his spellcasting. If you outdrop them, which you'll tend to outdrop legions,
Yep.
in most builds, and you force them to go first turn, Nagash probably isn't casting anything the first round against you. Realistically, he might be throwing around some buffs, but most of his spells can't reach that far in most standard scenarios, depending on how you.
He might portal.
He might portal.
Yep.
But I mean, even then, maybe he gets, maybe that happens.
Spell.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know that you have anything super Hand of Dust worthy other than him hitting you, like literally the guy who has this.
Yeah.
You don't have like a Star Drake thing, a value target.
But this guy could start off board, deep strike in. He's only got to be 9 inches away from something. If they don't have Nagash, bubble wrap. No, I understand.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, but you've got to be within 12, so this guy has to get over there somehow anyway.
Sure.
Yep.
But and then that's one round of Nagash being made more or less, impotent, not being able to bring his full spell power to bear, right? And then if you can, put yourself in position turn 2 where you're ready to do this, you can get into round 3 of the game before Nagash casts a spell of value. I hope this army has been able to do some work in 2 rounds against, the dead, and it's a pretty big deal. Yeah. If you can, depending on how you fight in that, thing, especially if you double turn 2 into 3.
Oh my!
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That is going to be a bad day in old Papa Nagash land.
Yeah.
So there you go.
That's probably game. I feel safe saying that would probably be game if he doesn't get to cast 2 spell rounds and you've went 3 times.
Yeah, I think in most builds of this, because this is a highly offensive army, right? Into what it does. If it's going 3 rounds into the dead and they haven't had, Nagash's spell power to back them up, or to do the necessary things there, they're going to be in a rough spot. I don't know that it's always game. It depends a lot on the scenario, but you've certainly got them on their heels, right?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I dig that one. Okay. Good stuff. Anything else we want to mention here?
There is the one artifact under Bray Herds that allow you to mortal wound from a terrain feature if you're going for that special. Screw you, woods. I want to mortal wound your woods.
Always good. Always good. That's all I'm saying. Yep. I agree. The terrain. Basically, you can build an army out of you can build an army to do what an army of Stormcast tutors do.
Just not quite as well. I mean,
just not quite as well.
Yeah,
Mr. Subpar tutors.
Yeah.
Mr. Toots is always the best, but you can play at the Toots game.
Well, he's wholly within. The whole terrain piece has to be wholly within, which neuters him against Sylvaneth now.
Depends. If they set up one base, I mean.
That depends a lot on the board and how much space they have to set up woods and what terrain exists, because they can't overlap existing stuff,
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
All right, so let's talk about some magic, yo. Whoa. It's Beast of Chaos magic.
Shaggoth, yes. Beast mode on the Shaggoth.
Beast mode on the Shaggoth spells. You want to talk about the 2 Shaggoth spells, Anthony, and why?
The 3? I like all 3.
All right, that's fine.
I didn't.
One
it's
of them
situational,
is
but
one of them I would call okay. One of them, it's certainly not bad. I'm not saying that. Okay.
Right.
I'm just saying 2 of them are straight up amazing.
Yeah. Sundering Blades, +1 or increase the rend of a unit's weapons. Okay. Yeah, I like more Rend. Rend is good.
Yeah, I mean it's a nice bad mind razor.
Yeah, okay, but I still take
I mean,
it.
like
Especially
it's
when everything else
it's
I
so
can
good.
do to this
Yeah,
army
don't get me
still has
wrong.
more
It's
ways than
so
that
good.
to affect your armor saves, because I'll combine that spell with one of the Brace spells. Hailstorm, 21 inches, huge range, 21 inches. Have the move characteristics and run and charge rolls for a unit. Thank you. You stay over there.
I love this spell.
That
Yes.
is maybe the best spell in this book.
Yes.
Hailstorm is ridiculously good.
When you
It's
know that your
amazing.
opponent, that unit, they're definitely going to want to charge with that unit. That unit has whatever they can run and charge. Now we're going to have your movement, so you can only come a little bit for us and have those rolls too. Enjoy.
Yep.
It's so good.
I mean, the chances that they fail the charge, right, become so massive. Like, you don't think about it until you get in that situation. How many times have you lined up like a 5-inch charge?
Right.
And you're like,
yeah.
oh, it's easy. It's a 5-inch charge. You couldn't get quite to 3 inches, but you're like, no problem. It's a 5-inch charge. That's a heck of a like. God forbid you be over the line, like actually be at 5.5 or something, right? Where you're still ending, that's where you're ending within a half an inch.
Yeah.
Because realistically, but if you're like right on the line at 5, right, you're needing to roll a 9 to get in there.
Yep.
Right? That's crazy. I mean, it's like, that is so punishing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Hailstorm
Like,
is crazy good. And
even
by the way,
even witch elves are going to feel that.
Yes.
Sure, it's hilarious. It's the half the charge roll that's the painful part of that. Like, having the move is cool. Don't get me wrong. That's great. Okay, especially with high move units that want to zippy zip around, right? Neat. But having the charge is so painful. It will push that unit into almost like just failing most charges they make. Right?
Yep.
That's where it makes the difference. And what's hilarious to me is that's the easiest spell to cast, because that's the one that's on a 6.
Yep.
Right? The other two are both on a 7.
And I mean the what's the other one? The Thunder Wave. If you're building an offensive melee Shaggoth because he's the one who has got the you can't retreat from combat, and you gave him the Gave Spawn additional 2 damage weapon to do D3 mortal wounds to everybody within 3 inches of him. Okay. If he can pile in on his, bigger base into 2 units, it's not terrible. It's obviously it's the loser of the 3, but it's not terrible.
No, and that's just it. Like, there are plenty of valid armies that have 3 Shaggoths in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality. This dude's not expensive.
No.
He is one of the best pointed heroes around for what you get out of him. I stand behind that. He is a absolute beast for what you get for his points.
Yeah. True.
Somewhere there's a 140 point Correction Overlord hero. They got cheaper now. just sad.
No. The chemist is 160.
160, yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, that guy's sad. So that's fine. Too bad for you, buddy. Okay.
Savage Dominion against all your monsters.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about. We don't want to skip the Brayherd spells. Notable about the Brayherd spells is that obviously, like, when we think about Brayherd spells, the thing that immediately comes to mind is your Bray Shaman. But that's not necessarily how we should think, because there is a second guy who gets these as well.
Battle Tome Zangor.
That's correct. Namely, our Zangor Shaman, right? Our Zangor Shaman also gets access to these things because they have, they've absorbed the Brayherd keyword in here. And of course, the Zangor Shaman has your little, has the little elixir, where once a game he can drink E up and cast 2 spells and reroll his dice, right?
Yeah.
So he becomes a pretty effective caster during that round.
But his old native spell has been changed. It no longer creates units of one model. It only adds to current existing Zangor units now.
So you just need to keep 1 unit of Zangor hanging around with this dude.
Always. Like, you have to.
I'm okay with that.
But you can't summon banner guys anymore.
Yeah, what Tom is sad about is that, like, they fixed the way he was cheating.
Right, exactly.
Now, I'm going to tell you, Tom, why at the same time the spell got better. We're not to the Zangor Shaman yet, but since you've opened this door, have you read the War Scroll yet, Tom?
I have.
Okay. I mean, like, yeah, it does that. Okay. Like, why? And you're sad because you can't put the banner out? Is that what it is?
Yeah. That's what I wanted him for. That's the only reason why I wanted that spell, was to actually add banners to the army. Because
you can only use one banner.
No, that's not how that banner works.
He wanted to spam individual banners. He wanted to do a thing that literally no one has ever done. That's fine. He's sad he can't cheat anymore.
I was just going to say, stop trying to cheat.
I mean, they like all those bonuses that moved, like those have just moved off of other units onto him. So like there's no net gain there.
I'm not arguing about that.
Like I don't know what you're alluding to, because he doesn't really have anything that's been added that's of value.
Okay, we'll come back to him. We'll come back to him. All right,
that's fine.
Because we're not to the War Scrolls yet.
Sure.
All right, let's stay on our Brayherd spells. The point is, we got 2 possible casters for these.
Sure.
Yes.
And I am a big fan of basically like 3 spells in this list. I think are pretty solid. Yeah. So
Tendrils, yes, please.
Yeah, Tendrils is a great one. Neg 1 save to a unit, right? Good. More armor shearing fun. This is like the army of we hate armor. I pity Stormcast players who have to play against this. I really do, because I don't know how they live. There's going to be a lot of Stormcast running around on like 5 and 6 ups, and they can't withstand that.
It's a mad matchup for Stormcast.
Yes,
it is. Like, paper meet scissors here, or whatever you want to say. I guess rock meet paper. It seems weird calling these guys paper, but yeah. So yeah, I mean that's just a tough matchup for them. Titanic Fury,
awesome.
Big fan of. Casting value of 7, let you pick a chaos monster, and you increase all of their melee attack profiles by attack characteristics by 1. That's going to be real good when we talk about the Chimera.
Oh my god!
I also don't hate it with the Gorgon. And if you're feeling like you want to throw points away, you can throw it on a giant.
The Giants,
so that's fun too.
The headbutting beast that is the Giant.
Sure, yeah, we'll talk about him and why he's terrible. I'm not. That's fine. I'm okay with it.
I mean, Archeon,
get into that.
Slayer of Kings, neg 1 Ren. Giant, Stonehead, neg 3 Ren.
Yeah, he has to be in combat for that to work.
Archeon, flying, 20 wounds, can ace people on double 6s. Yeah. No, this guy walking in.
Yeah, and Giant falling over 1 in 6 charges.
Yeah. We'll get to why the Giant's terrible. Like, I love that comparison. I don't disagree with it. Like, yeah, okay, on that dimension, it's funny.
Yeah.
It is funny that, like, yes, we all agree Archeon Sword should not have a neg 1 Ren.
No.
Yay. We've all made an obvious observation. The Slayer of Kings should have better Rend. Cool. He's still fine. Archeon's fine. That's not... I honestly, I don't take Archeon for that purpose. He'll do what he needs to do.
Right.
Okay. And then also Savage Dominion, which I think is a really interesting spell that is way too wordy, but is really hilarious against certain enemy monsters. This would be like, it's literally like, I think I said these in the order I like them, and in the order I would take them. Okay. This is like my 3rd Bray caster pick. Only because, man, will you beat up a war mammoth. But I mean, at the same time, like, there's plenty of monsters who don't have tremendously amazing braveries, and that this will just beat the living tar out of. Like, this will just do half their mortal wounds to them.
Bravery of a Maw Crusher.
8 off the top of my head.
Okay.
So I mean, it's still a tough roll. The way the spell works is you pick a monster, you roll 2d6, and you have to equal or greater their bravery, right? So it's not, at least you don't have to beat it, thank God.
Yeah.
So yeah, like against a Maw Crusher or a Star Drake, because I think those are both 8s, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I think Star Drakes are 10, aren't they?
I don't think so.
No, they can't be that high.
I don't think anything in the
somebody drop it in
Stormcast
the
book is
comments
10.
what a Star Drake's bravery is. There's two different Star Drakes, obviously.
I'm pulling it up right now. Let's keep going.
Cool. Anyways, if you beat it, you roll a number of dice equal to their wounds characteristic, and every 4-up is a mortal wound. Okay.
Right.
So, like,
the Lord,
you're just gonna.
The Lord Celestin on Star Drake is on a 9 bravery.
Okay, and then is the Templar 8? Is that what it is?
The Templar is a 9 as well.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
They're braver than I thought. Way to go, little guys. Hey, there you go. Thank you. Thanks, Clark. You know, and certainly there are monsters that this is going to whiff against, and that's why it's like choice the third, you know, because you've got to do that bravery thing. So yeah, you can swing it around. Oh, by the way, I shouldn't say, I'm just assuming you're using the monster to beat itself up. You don't have to. You can push it into other units and do this same thing to a different unit, right? Like you can push the monster into an adjacent small hero and then use the monster to basically kill the small hero.
Yeah,
I think in most cases
when he does it.
Yeah.
So
I think in most cases I would just have the monster beat himself up, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a fun spell. And then there's also if you're doing the terrain build, like the terrain mess up build, then you've got Vicious Stranglethorn where you pick a terrain feature within 24 inches. And then each enemy unit within 3 inches of that terrain feature suffers D3 mortal wounds. I mean, what I'll say is that depending on the table you're playing on, that's a heck of a range on that at 24 inches. And you just need to tag the terrain feature, right? It's not a wholly within.
Yeah.
If it's like if I'm playing at like a holy event with like Herner's tables, man, there are some terrain features. Like there are some tables where that's a real winner. Like you are going to hit the enemy army with that spell. I mean, I'm just saying.
NashCon, Adepticon had a fair amount of terrain on the tables. They were no slouch. Yeah,
absolutely. So like, you know, I don't know that any of these are like, any of these are bad, with the exception of one. We need to talk about Wild Rampage, okay? Because this goes into a territory that they rarely go into, but I love that they wrote this spell. Because this is reminiscent of rules that Tom and I have written before.
Sure.
I love effects like this. I'm not sure that they balanced it exactly correctly here, but I love these kind of cost-benefit effects. I will say that like there are psychographic profiles that hate these and would never take this. Ever. There's no situation. They hate things that have a cost like this. Right? And so Wild Rampage works like this. Casting value of 6. If successfully cast, you pick a friendly unit within 12 that's visible to them. Until your next hero phase, you can reroll all failed wound rolls for attacks with melee weapons made by that unit. Okay, so you pick a unit, you get to reroll all your wound rolls. Cool, all failed wound rolls. All right.
I like this. I like this spell in certain builds.
Yeah, so far, great. Now, however, I love how they literally include the word however. I'm not sure that's I don't. Anyway, grammar aside,
they might have well just said, "Hold up,
wait." Okay, subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks that target that unit. Okay, so the obvious thing that's happening here is they're getting more killy, but they're ignoring their own defense. I like this in theme and execution, like narratively it's awesome, right? Because I love these. Like I wish there was more of this in the game, like increased offense to trade away defense for increased offense. I wish there was more stuff like this. I love this kind of stuff. My only sort of regret here is that I'm not sure the reroll wound rolls on its own is good enough to pay off neg 1 save. Now, as somebody in the comments pointed out, it can depend. Like if you're going into a unit that's going to rend off your low armor, you know, this army doesn't exactly have great armor, right? So if like you're going into a unit that's already going to rend your armor off, who cares?
That's why I say
there's no downside.
You put this on Ungor Raiders, a 40 block that you just deep struck in. That's rerolling 1s and 2s now to hit. Now they're re-rolling all their wounds. Anything that touches them is going to blow them off the table anyway. So you're just
hoping it's only melee weapons. It's only melee weapons.
Oh, is it? Those all weapons.
No, it's just melee. This one, the corn one, is all
Oh,
rolls.
that's what it is.
Ironically, corn good at shooting, but that's not. That's what you got to watch out for.
Okay, I'm off this spell. I don't care about it.
Watch out for those corn shooters.
Absolutely, as we all know. Well, I mean, look, corn is like the one that brought cannons, so I don't think corn's against shooting. He just hates magic. You know, most of the time they're just too angry to shoot anything. But he is the one who has cannons in his army. I'm just saying. And
it's I like that battalion the most out of all we get to battalion, but I then have to. I'm now at 2 drop or 3 if I put 2 Shaggoths in.
Sure. But yeah, it's an interesting spell lore. It really is, and I think I think Bray Shamans are really good in themselves. I think their innate spell that we'll talk about is already really good. I think they have a fantastic base spell that I think is highly useful. So, yeah, there you go. All right, you ready to talk about some great frays? Man, them frays are great. The frays, they've got those. They're in charge of those 2 towers, I guess, or whatever, that are on that river. Somebody they ate his own kids. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so no, the great phrase. So obviously we've got all her dark walkers and Gave spawn is not grave spawn. Doom, who spent the whole episode saying that. It is Gave spawn. I'll admit, your brain wants to read it as grave spawn, but it's not. It's like they gave
and the symbols
kind
of look and the symbols kind of look appropriate for that, but
but no. I'm going to choose to believe it's pronounced
Gov.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I love that you read my mind. It's pronounced Gov spawn. That way we all don't get confused. So for the rest of this episode, I'm going to pronounce it Gov spawn. So this is happening.
Robots,
all right.
robots, and Gov spawn.
I was going to say
robots and Gov spawn.
He can't pronounce robots or Necron, so why not this too? Go ahead.
Necrons? I don't know what you're talking about. So, all right. So let's talk about All Herd. Anthony, what do you think of the All Herd? What do you think? What's your brain go to when you look at All Herd?
Subtract 1 from your battle shock for all your people. With your low bravery, reducing that roll by 1 is nice.
Sure.
You can trade command points for more summoning points. So if you're gonna summon, this is where you're at. You're all in.
Yep. And on a command ability that is not capped, most importantly, right? Like
yes,
you can activate this multiple times. You can push that Whopper button as many times as you want.
Yep. And again, we said you're gonna have a battalion, so you're gonna have at least 1 additional command point if you've got a Shaggoth, and to knowledge now you've got D3 more. So re-rolling charge rolls for all friendly, all herd within 18 of the general. But your general has to be in combat. So but pretty much anybody you're going to take as a general, except for one of the 2 shamans, they're fine in combat. I mean, even your suicidal beast lord, who's probably the weakest of them all, he can still do work.
Sure.
I mean, and even with this artifact of power, you put it on him, you increase the Ren characteristic of the weapon. So if
by
there's
1
20,
if they target a unit with 10, and by 2 if they target a unit of 20 or more, and it can't take the Rend above -3, right?
Right. So,
which is a real shame, because obviously the Doom Bolt, if you were to go that direction, could have hit -4, but no, they had to ruin our fun.
Thanks.
Why did they just let the Doom Bolt get -4?
Thanks, playtesters.
Like, just let him have the -4. Why is that so bad?
It's fine. Whether you want to call it Rend or you want to do it through a spell, that guy can have essentially -5, because you've got the spell that reduces an armor save. You've got this, weapon that reduces an armor save, or that increases your Rend. You've got, if the herd stone's there, you've got another spell that increases your Rend. You can have all the neg Rend you want. It's fine. Just don't go up against Night Haunt, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, Night Haunt the Great. We don't care about your Rend army. Sure.
Piss off with your Rend. We don't care.
Yeah, so the summoning engine build, in my mind, I mean, Tom, this is what is maybe you have a different version of this.
No,
But
like, good.
Yeah, the
you're on
summoning engine in my mind is you have a Thunderscorn Shaggoth general with the D3 extra command points trait. You
Yep.
build to either 1950 or 1900 to start with 1 or 2 extra command points in the clip, plus a battalion. So
Yep.
you're starting at basically like 3 or 4 plus a D3, right?
Plus 2d3
sorry,
because you're going to sacrifice.
Yeah, plus 2d3 because then you sacrifice, and then
Yeah, I
and
mean,
then
you can
you
drop the
have
Chimera turn 1.
Sure. Then you've got the artifact that gives you 1 more on a 4 plus that you give to the right guy, and you take the realm artifact that
on a 5 plus, or every
yeah.
time you spend 1 on a 5 plus, you get 1 back. Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. And you generate a whole lot of points, and you drop chimeras every other turn.
Sure.
Yeah,
Or like there's a lot of other choices too, honestly. Like you can spam some stuff pretty hard down in the 3-5 point range.
10
Like
best
pretty
scores
crazy at that point.
I'll take 10 best scores.
Yeah, you can just start spamming blocks of Bestigor out there pretty fast.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the summoning engine army. Like to me, that's you're just like you're blowing the horn and stuff is just walking on, right, from the edge of the battlefield every round. Yep, you're right. I'm sorry. That's somebody pointed out that is a really good point. Yeah, you can't have the command trait in Herd because this one forces a command trait on you. Thank you. Yep, that's absolutely right. So you can't have that D3. You can do the rest of the stuff. You just can't have that Shaggoth D3. Thank you.
Yep.
And it's also going to chew off one of your magic items, right? So you'd have to either have a second battalion so you can get at both of those magic items and still have this crappy one.
Impossible. Which
isn't impossible, right?
No. I mean, you say this is a crappy artifact, but this, if you're going to build your Beast Lord to actually use his command ability, because he has to be in combat and he needs to go hero hunting, this isn't the worst. I think the Gaves one is better for him in that kind of build, but this isn't the worst to have better Ren.
I mean, the problem is it's completely overshadowed by like things like the artifact phase sword or the neg 3 Ren sword, like whatever.
Right.
But yes, so you can't take that extra D3, but you're still generating quite a bit, right? And you can turn those directly into summoning points. Yeah. The other option is with sort of all Herd, to me, is you just use it to like basically you don't build completely towards summoning, but you use it to kind of like spam Ungors, right? To just like have little packs of Ungors. Just 10 Ungors are like 3 points. This kind of makes sure that you're always getting 3, right? This puts you at 3 minimum. You understand what I mean? Because it's like a D3, which can generate a 1, plus 1, plus 1, right?
Yep.
And the idea being there, you always just are kind of like floating little Ungor packs around the edge of the battlefield who can move on to open objective and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's terrible to be able to every round just add 10 new dudes to the battlefield. They can show up and be chaff. They can show up and threaten points. They can body block people, that kind of thing. So yeah, this is the weakest one to me. I forgot about the command trait overwrite. Thank you very much. I forgot about that. There. It's good balance.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about Dark Walkers. This is the next great fray. This one takes it's sort of the generic ability of this, is it takes your Warherd and your Thunderscorn and basically gives them the Bray Herd ambush, right?
Right.
So this is your ambush army, where if you want to ambush with unusual things. We talked already about building like the ambushing Minotaur army, right?
Right.
This is also the I hate your terrain feature.
Yes, this has the magic item that once per game you can do more terrain feature punishment, right?
Yep.
It has a command trait that's like its command trait is you add 1 to the run rolls for all friendly Dark Walker units where they're wholly within 12 of your general.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, I guess, but it ain't good either.
It's bad.
Yeah, I mean, most of your army can run and charge.
Yeah.
That's the only reason it's not literally completely worthless.
Sure.
Right. But it's still underwhelming. This is the purposeful underpowered item here.
That's because it has the best command ability.
Do you think this one has the best command ability?
I don't know if it's the best, but in situational play, especially with when you're playing for objectives, to be able to teleport your units.
Yeah, like yes.
I think you could make an argument that Gobspawn has the best command ability.
Oh,
I'm not saying I think that. I'm saying you could make the argument.
I would.
Yeah.
If I'm playing, yes, I'm in the Gobspawn there. But if an intelligent person is playing, they might think that this is for sure.
If you're actually a good tactical player.
Yeah.
So to unpack this,
anytime you can pick up units and reset them down, like that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Sure, but there's an interesting limitation to this, right?
Sure.
Like it's not a normal teleport. Like, all right, here's how this works. Use the command ability at the end of the movement phase.
Right.
You pick a Darkwalker's unit that has to be more than 9 inches from any enemy units.
Sure.
And wholly within 18 inches of one of your heroes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's like a pretty not super tight restriction. Like that's still a fair amount of space, but it's restrictive. Okay. And then you remove them from the battlefield completely. Like this is the end of the movement phase when you're triggering this.
Yep.
Now, at the end of your next movement phase, you can set them up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from enemy units. So they're gone for that whole turn, right? Now, I will say that if you think you're about to be on the bad side of a double turn, where like a unit is sort of misplayed, right? Like if you set up a unit, it got misplayed, and you think you're going to eat a double turn in a bad way, or you move somebody in a bad way, or whatever, or you're on you're on like relocation orb and something just shot way across the board because somebody hot rolled like 4 6s on the relocation orb or something and shot it way over to the other side of the table. Sure, this is pretty good, right? In that case, because you can pick them up and just protect them. You know, if you're about to get double turned, the advantage is they're never going to attack that unit, right? Like it's gone for 2 whole rounds of their fighting and moving and stuff. They just can't target it.
The other thing with this, though, okay, it happens at the end of the movement phase. Your summoning also happens at the end of the movement phase.
Sure.
So you can stack which order you want. So I summon a unit on. The only place I can place them currently is in this one location.
Sure, if somebody's like zoned you out, you mean?
Yeah, it's close enough to my hero where I go, okay, they're going to disappear now. Now I'm playing mind games with my opponent too. Like, where are they going to go? Do you want to move those people over there and open up a spot? Should you move them when you knew you had a plan for that unit over there? Now you can't because now I can put my people over there. You can some psychological warfare with some people, mess them up a little bit. It would screw me up, but again, I'm wildly bad. So
no, it's fine. Yeah, I mean, my biggest problem is that's such a long time for them to be gone. And then, you know, as somebody pointed out in the comments, like they could show up and then just whiff a charge because they're not moving again the next round either, right? Like you're setting them up, and that's it. If you have charge shenanigans built in for some reason, you know, then okay, fine. I'm more keen for this. But I don't know, man. I think this is often going to be a trap where you pull a unit off and then you give your enemy time to actually zone them out from where they don't want them. Right.
Sure. In a world of cogs, you've only...
Sure, yeah. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. All right.
Have cogs become your new Balewind Vortex? Because I remember AOS 1, your Balewind Vortex.
Every time it was like, well, if you're on a Balewind... Yeah, okay. Got it. Now let's talk about Gobspawn. Truly, my actual favorite one, and the one that I think is like, this is the winner. This is the winner chicken dinner in my mind. If you're going to take one of these. And by the way, I think these are like balanced in such a way that there are plenty of armies where I would never take one of these. Because I do think some of the command traits and magic items and stuff are so good that I just want the generic stuff. I don't, and none of these abilities are generically so good in armies that you would build that you would want to take one every time. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Gobspawn, how's it work? Well, here's your basic ability. whenever one of your heroes is slain, any kind of your heroes, you roll a die. On a 2-up, you get a chaos spawn, and it basically pops up, near where your hero died. Okay. We'll just say it that simply. So now you've got some chaos spawn. Okay, cool. Neat stuff. You get a refund. You get a consolation prize for dead heroes. It should be pointed out that many of your heroes in this army are not super tough, and want to be in combat where they will likely die, right?
Yeah.
So getting a little chaos spawn that can then stick up a unit and continue to gum up the works.
Not bad.
Okay.
There's worse consolation prizes.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, what's cool about it is that you can set that spawn up into combat.
Yeah.
Its only restriction movement-wise is it's within 6 inches of where the hero was slain.
Yeah.
So if the hero was in combat, if some crazy witch elves charge in and you're blocking them off with a hero from getting at what they want to get at, and then they kill your hero, and then you just put a chaos spawn in combat with them, they have to kill that thing next round.
Well, not only that, you get to swing with that chaos spawn this combat.
Sure, yeah, because he's suddenly a combatant who hasn't been picked yet. Absolutely.
Or
he's probably going to do that much.
I can even set him up on the backside of that unit that's protecting an objective, and now I can contest an objective if you can't have any, additional models within 6 inches. If there's enough room for me to put something there.
I mean, how many times have you seen like somebody hold an objective with like 2 or 3 models?
Yeah.
Right. And so yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting like consolation prize in a way where like if you've got a single hero holding an objective, and I'm not talking about like a duality of death or something here, right? I mean just a generic objective capture game where like how many times have you seen like a backfield objective being held by just like a solo crap hero? It's an interesting thing, and somebody will send like weak chaff in to go kill that guy. It's interesting that if they do kill that guy, then a chaos spawn could show up and kill them back. Not that he's going to be great at that, and then he just retakes the point. So that's kind of a funny sequence of events. Probably not likely, but funny if it did happen. Now let's talk about why Gov spawn is actually a good one, and that is their command ability. So you can use this command ability at the start of the combat phase, which I love that that's when you decide to use it.
I hate that.
Good already. I love it. If you do so, why do you forget it? Is that what you're worried about? Do you forget
that would be one, yes. Because everything else in this army is so fast, and these guys are not. So these guys will get left in the dust. Yeah. So when I need this spawn to be close to that unit, because you've got to be wholly within 12, not just close to, wholly within. Everybody else can leave this guy in the dust, and then your command ability is wasted.
Sure, it is pre-pile in, and so you just need to think about your charge, right? And making sure that, like, I mean, the spawn are just going to be at a full tilt run, right? Like that's all they're doing. It's just running toward wherever you think the combat's going to be.
Can I note something real quick?
Yeah, man, please.
Chaos spawn are slaves to darkness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So you can ally these guys in as
you don't have to.
You don't have to. They're in the book.
They're in the book. They're straight up
in the book.
chaos.
Yeah. Never mind.
Yeah.
Needless to say, you don't.
They have both.
You're not relying on. I say that to say you're not going to have to rely wholly on heroes dying to generate these guys.
No. If you're playing this, like you absolutely have chaos spawn.
Yeah, you're bringing one or two with you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
And I'm trying to remember how much the stupid chaos spawn actually costs.
50 or 60 points.
Yeah, it's cheap.
I don't know where Dum Dum is, but anyways, yes. Like the point is that you're absolutely showing up. Yeah, there he is. He's 50 points.
Yeah.
Like if this is what you're rocking, you're absolutely got some of those on the line.
Yeah.
And those morons are just you're just gonna run them in there.
You're incentivizing
when your heroes die.
Right, but what I'm saying is you're actually incentivizing. You're changing the incentive structure because now they have to decide whether they want to kill these guys out or not.
Oh yeah, these become a very potent locus in your army. We I don't want to bury the lead for those who don't know. Basically, what happens is you pick a unit wholly within 12 inches of any friendly chaos spawn, right? Whether they came out of your heroes or are just one you already had in the army, as you said, and you add 1 to the attacks characteristic of that unit's melee weapons. Hello, Cleveland. Like obviously that's real good. Do I need to explain to anybody why +1 attack is super good? Yeah, it's pretty good. It should also be noted that this, unlike, like this isn't capped.
Right.
I see.
You can do
I
this.
see. I see everybody saying that like it's a big deal. This is like the poor man's WA. The WA isn't capped.
Yes, the WA isn't capped, but the WA is exceptional for that reason.
Right.
More or less every other of the +1 attack things got locked down to a single activation.
True.
Okay. And keep in mind, you don't need like a different chaos spawn.
Right. True.
Right.
True.
Like
you
if
just
they
do it on one guy.
Yeah, if they satisfy the conditions of this once and you've got 3 command points, you've got +3 attacks. So like Bulgors and Zangor Enlightened and Bestigor, you know,
It's a thing.
pretty good. Pretty good if they get +3 attacks.
Chimera.
Not a bad
Chimera
thing.
is
Chimera's getting
with, plus the
+3
Titanic
attacks.
Fury spell and
Yeah, I mean, you talked about your giant headbutt. Why stop at 3? Why not go for 6?
exactly.
And I will say it's actually quite easier to keep the monsters in range, wholly within 12 of the chaos spawn, than it is, a whole unit of like 30 Bestigor, right? Who could very easily have a model drift out of that, like in their cloud, in their Ort cloud, drift out of the range of that wholly within 12.
Yeah.
Whereas that single Chimera, that's a pretty easy thing to keep in line. And knocking that guy to 4, 5, 6, 7 attacks, if you've also got Titanic Fury on him or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, good God.
Oh, yeah.
Start the chainsaw.
They've got one head that does D6 damage too, and that head only has base 1 attack. So now give it 4.
It's 3. They're all 3 now.
Oh, it's 3 attacks on that.
They're all 3.
All of the Chimera heads are now 3. We'll get to the Chimera. He is a straight up beast now.
Oh
like,
yeah.
He is beast mode in the truest sense of the word.
I mean, if I ran this army, I would probably run 4 in my army.
That's like half your army.
Okay.
They're 240. They're the most expensive thing in this army.
Okay.
Worth it.
They're witch elf blocks. They are single-handedly witch elf destructive blocks.
Yes. But they don't fit in any of the battalions.
Not 90 attacks, but that doesn't matter. But simply because of the rend, because of the damage, because of the with force multipliers, they are simply wrecking balls.
You can only cast Titanic Fury on one of them. You're only going to be. I mean, you can buff up. I see 2. I think 4 is overkill, personally.
Hey, I'm not against it. But look, the point is that it's real good. As has been pointed out in the comments, there's lots of ways. Like as we've talked, there's lots of ways to get extra command points.
Oh yes,
like lots.
Right.
Through realm artifacts and second artifacts and whatever. Like this is a thing that can be done. Obviously, if you're in this, you can't take the command trait for the Thunderscorn, and you can, it's going to decide one of your artifacts. But you can still command point fish. You can have battalions. You start with 2. You can start 50 points down. These are all things you do, and suddenly you can be like spam-a-lama damn, bing bang, and there you go. You want those old Zangor, Tom? You're sad that your Zangor don't have as many attacks? Bury a chaos spawn in the middle and watch them shoot back up to like 6 attacks each real fast.
Oh yeah.
It's still not the same.
You're still not the same, Tom. I swear to God, you are such a anyway. All right. So, and then real quick, we should touch on their command trait and their artifact. The general can attempt to unbind a spell as if they're a wizard. If they're already a wizard, they can unbind 1 additional spell. So, kind of cool. Nothing wrong with that. And so you can, if you are going for like a Thunderscorn boss, that's kind of cool because then you can do, 2 spells.
Yeah.
And then their artifact of power, I love. Yes. I love. I think this thing is amazing. Okay, so pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. Add 2 to the damage characteristic of that melee weapon.
Yes, please.
Okay. All right, that seems pretty good. I hear what you're saying. You're waiting for the penny to drop, and you're right, because it has a drop. And you know what? It's a drop I don't care about. I see people talk about this next part, and I feel like people aren't living the Beasts of Chaos lifestyle. Okay? So, obviously, you pick one of their weapons, you increase the damage by 2. All right, fantastic.
Yep.
However, each unmodified hit roll of 1 for attacks made with that weapon inflicts 1 mortal wound upon the bearer after all of the bearer's attacks have been made.
Yep.
Okay. So I see people, and somebody mentioned in the comments, and it's true. You take somebody like the Beast Lord, who's at a base 6 attacks, could easily go up and have bonuses to hit, and all these kinds of crazy things going on, right? And you think to yourself, okay, cool. Suddenly his 1 damage weapon that he's making 6 attacks with is a 3 damage weapon that he's making 6 attacks with. And this guy has a built-in reroll 1s with his paired weapon.
That's
right?
the key there.
So he's pretty unlikely to actually mortal wound himself. Hey, that's super sweet. I have no problem with that. But the concern here is I see people afraid that you're going to kill your own heroes. Yeah. Yeah. That's what you're on about, baby. That's the gob
Did I get a
spawn.
free
That's
chaos
what they're all
spawn, baby?
about. You gotta get them spawn. This is called Suicide Lord. Like,
Yeah.
who cares? Who cares? You're not putting it on your general, right? This is on like a bonus suicide hero.
Like
Be it
a
a
Doom
Beast
Bull.
Lord.
I pulled this on my Durthu Doom Bull, who now does 5 damage on his weapon attack with Rending 2.
Yeah.
Get at
Let
it,
that guy
son.
roll 1s. Like, get in it. Get in it to
Well,
win it. It's fine.
Put him in the Corn Battalion, and he's re-rolling those 1s, and so he's fine. He's got
Exactly,
the people and heals himself. He's good.
Exactly. Like, my point is don't limit yourself with the Beast Lord when you can make the Suicide Bull.
Yep.
Like, this dude can get in it to win it, baby. Like the Corn Battalion, you mentioned exactly what I was going to get at, is that in that case you can still get at the rerolls, but you can just send this dude into overdrive, and 5 damage hits, they're pretty good as things go.
as Durthu can attest when he connects.
Exactly.
Sure. I mean, I would make the reference to, well, Durthu obviously hits for 6, but you could make the reference to the Warp Gnaw Vermin Lord or
I'm lowering
Alariel's
his
Beetle.
averages because he doesn't normally connect.
Well, turning your Doom Bull into hitting like Alariel's Beetle seems pretty sweet to me. So, and if he dies, who cares? This is a 120-point Doom Bull that you have specifically put out there to die.
Yes.
Right?
Yep, yeah.
Like, he is there to run hog wild at the face of the enemy and just start cleaving bodies.
All
right, so
all about it.
Yeah. Lean into it. Don't be afraid of it. That's what I have to say. All right, great.
So when an FAQ drops in another week, do you think this command ability gets FAQ'd?
Maybe. I mean, it's one of those ones that could. Like, if it suddenly got that can't be used more than once, I wouldn't be that surprised.
Yes, and it cannot be used on the same unit more than once.
Sure. Like it could happen.
It'll let them, I mean, maybe not, but like if I were to take a guess, if anything will happen, it'll let you reuse it multiple times. You just can't keep choosing the same unit.
My crystal ball says that's not beastly enough.
I'm not going to I'm not going to disagree with that.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see it going either way. I hope it stays, though.
Sure.
I do as well. Because I like Gobspawn. I think they're sweet.
I'll say this. I don't know why I would run it realistically if it didn't have that.
Oh, if it didn't, even with +1, it's still good. Like, that's not a bad thing. Like, flipping a unit of Bestigor up a whole attack is still really good. Or a big unit of Zangor or a unit of Zangor Enlightened. Because the Enlightened, it really pops off because those guys have a big profile and are a small. They have a big amount of attacks being affected, and they are going to probably have built. They're going to have rerolls with all those, and they have a small footprint. right? So again, like keeping 3 enlightened in range of that is not going to be that difficult, right? So even limited to 1, I think it's still quite good. But not limited without the governor switch on. Ooh, I'm about it. Okay.
Well, even that Titanic Fury adding just 2 additional attacks to that, monster is
because you can take
fantastic.
the Shaggoth, who's actually still a monster, right? And he can get Titanic Furied by the Bray Shaman or whatever, and then use that ability and go to town.
Or the Zangor Shaman.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, you put this artifact on your throwaway Shaggoth, who's only got 3 attacks with his axe, which is 3 damage, I think.
Yeah,
also
he got a 3 damage axe.
So now he's a 5 damage axe, and he gets 2 additional attacks, so he's up to 5 attacks. Okay, on 3s and 3s, -2 rend. Go get it, son. Go get it.
Get in there, boy. You get in there. And he'll get there too. Like because he's Thunderscorn and he's fast. Base 8 inches. He's getting that Thunderscorn movement. Like he'll get in there. Yep. So the point is that it's fun all over the place. There's a lot. That's what I love. Like we could spend a long time just talking about the different interesting ways to combine all this and use this one ability, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so much in this book like that. Like I want everybody to note, because like the whole time in the chat, in the comments, there's been people posting other ways to combine this stuff.
Oh, there's a million.
Yep. And it's one of the things I truly do love about this book is that there's so many different interesting ways to put these pieces together. This book is one of the most like Lego set-y books they've given us yet, right? Like you can build a car, you can build a castle, you can build a you can build a spaceship, whatever you want. Like it's unbelievable how interestingly some of these things work together. All right, let's talk through battalions, shall we? So battalions break down like this. Like let's do the high level breakdown, right? There is a battalion for each type, right? Like there's a Brayherd battalion, a Warherd battalion, and a Thunderstorm battalion. There's a all-in battalion, generic battalion, right?
Which, by the way, is still really easy to get into. Like it's one of those all-ins, but that you can actually afford.
Cost effective.
It's the desolating Brayherd.
Right, but everything's ones. Like if you'll notice, like go down, except for the 2 of Ungor, like everything else is ones. It's not like the 3 units of this, 6 units of this type of mega battalion. So this is like a mega battalion done right.
Yep,
I would argue for the big thing. So kudos to GW, by the way, for this battalion.
That's like my favorite battalion too.
Sure, my only problem with this one, okay, is that it has no access. So the Desolating Beast Herd or whatever has no access to the Thunderscorn stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sure. It's all Bray and Warherd, and it only has, which is fine. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just it's fine. There are plenty of versions of this army that don't have that in there. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah. Sure.
And I wish it was, my only wish is that it was 1 to 2 Beast Lords or Doom Bulls.
Correct.
Because it's limited to 1 melee hero, but I mean you've got 1 to 3 shamans.
Right.
Right. So like you can still have a good hero complement. And like, by the way, there's a couple versions of this army that are just like 3 shamans with shaman spam, and it's a great build. Right.
Right.
So that's not me saying you can't get there. Because you can still get 1 to 3 units of Bestigor and Bulgor in any combination. And same with like
Vince, what's your favorite? What's your favorite Doc prayer?
My favorite Doc prayer, Catechism of Murder.
And what does Catechism of Murder do?
It makes it so whenever you roll a 6 to hit, the hit becomes 2 hits.
Now imagine a world, Vince, where you could just apply Catechism of Murder to an entire battalion perpetually.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I like that, Tom.
It's all got to be in their territory, though.
Sure.
Okay. So you're saying that I have an army that can deep strike and that can come on and be in their face turn 1, and then
only half of your army can deep strike.
Sure. Well, and the other half can run across the board. I'll take my Catechism of Murder.
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah.
Like I said, this is one of my favorites. Like Vince said, only having 1 Beast Lord or Doom Bull is why every one of these lists I build is like a 3-drop, because I need a Shaggoth and I need a Doom Bolt or 2.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I
sure.
could see a world of doing this and.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
doing this and the I think like and the Thunderscorn storm herd. Like I could see a
Sure.
world where that could
Yes.
easily happen.
And nicely, this one now. I mean, that's 340 points in battalions you're describing there, which
Okay.
seems like a lot, but and it is a lot, but like okay, like it's not the worst.
It's everything. It like
Sure.
honestly, it's everything.
Mhm.
That's all your heroes. It's all your like. Yeah, it's not your chimeras, but
Yeah,
okay.
right. But I can summon those in. We'll be okay.
Right, I can summon those in, and now I have a bunch of blocks, like huge melee blocks.
And if I do it in the all herd, I've just gave myself 2 additional command points, which I can now turn into summoning points, which I can then yada yada. So
Sure.
I can.
Oh, by the way, I want to answer a question real quick that's totally out of left field. Somebody asked, "What are the little creatures in the Shaggoth's hair?" Have you guys ever put together a real Shaggoth?
Nope.
So the Shaggoths have these little tiny weird, like those little weird dolls that were in like what is it?
Remember like the
Spirited
Matryoshka
Away.
dolls?
No. The little weird like dolls that were in Princess Mononoke. That's what it was in.
Nope.
The Shaggoth has a couple of those in his hair. Like he has 3 little weird, like critters in his hair. Okay, I don't know what that like. They're the weirdest little thing. It's the weirdest detail on a big monster. Somebody asked what those are. Those are the Tanglehorn familiars. I like that's how I read this. I don't know that for sure, but that's what I'm assuming they are. Those are his little familiars, and he's sending those out to go screw with people. I assumed that's why they made that magic item, because they looked at the model and they saw that it had those little weirdos, these little like doll things hiding in his hair, and they were like, "Well, we should make those into a thing." So there you go. I have no idea why the original sculptor put that on there, but just a fun out of nowhere question. Okay. All right. So yeah, I mean, all of the battalions are fairly expensive, but that being said, this is the kind of army where I could be like, yeah, I could spend 300 points on battalions because you have access to so many mass cheap bodies.
Yep.
Right? Like it should be like it cannot be understated how much even blowing 300 on battalions, you can still like if you want numbers, you can still spam the heck out of numbers. 30 gore, 210, 40 ungore, 200, 30 bestigore, 300. Like these are crazy numbers, right? Yep. For what you're getting. So like it's not like you're really sacrificing bodies on the board, right? When you do this.
I agree.
Okay. Yeah, so that's I think the Desolating Beast herd's cool. I mean, the 3 individual battalions are like they do exactly what it says on the tin. And exactly what you would imagine, right? To me, the real loser is the Bray Herd one, the marauding Bray Herd. Okay.
Sure.
Because because you have to have 3 units of gore. Of regular gore.
Mm-hmm.
And if there is the loser in this army, it's the gore. Like we haven't talked about scrolls yet. Like that's where we're going to end out for the most part. But like gore are sadly the least interesting thing in this army.
They're too expensive compared to Ungore, and they're not as good as Bestigore.
Right. Like when you look at how the cost breaks out and what they do, I'm not saying I couldn't see having a unit of gore. Maybe that's worth it. Maybe it's worth a 210 point gore unit. I don't know. Like if I would. Here's what I'll say: if I was in a battalion that had a tax of like I have to have a gore unit, I'm not sure I would hate having a single 30-man gore unit for 210.
No,
I'm not sure I'm angry about that. That's probably a tax I'm okay with. It's not worthless. It's not great. It's not another unit of Bestigore or some Ungore Raiders or whatever.
Even regular Ungore, you
can
have 40 Ungore for 200.
Right. Cheaper, you got 10 more bodies. Yeah, absolutely. But they all basically do what they say on the tin. The Hungering War Herd is fine. It's fine. It has its battalion ability might as well just say that would be about as effective.
6 to 7 inch piling.
in what universe are you not double locked?
Right.
If
They
you play
created
me,
if you're playing a single giant, like it's useful when you're fighting a single giant monster with your Minotaurs, because then you'll slide them all in and around. Cool. You know what a group of Minotaurs or Bulgor, whatever you want to call them, are going to chop down with ease? Most monsters in the game. They're going to pace that thing against the wall. They didn't need a huge amount of help with it. So, there you go. Autumn Lotus, I got to disagree with you on that one. He said he doesn't like Bestigor. He thinks they look ugly. I think Bestigor are a beautiful classic model. But that's aesthetic, to each their own. I like Bestigor too. I hate Ungor. I think Ungor looks stupid with their little pot bellies. I like the look of Gore. I love the look of Bestigor. I think they've always looked wonderful.
I love the dad bod Ungors.
They are. They're those dad bod Ungors, yeah.
They're the like drunken, lecherous little satyrs from.
They do look like they've got the little pot belly satyr look.
Yeah, I love it.
I don't know. I've never liked it. I like ripped dudes. Okay, that's what I like. I like
each their own, man.
Bulging muscles. Okay, I want to see some ripped, hard bodies on the table. That's all I'm saying. I think that's completely fair.
Sounds about right.
It's the big cows for you, then. The big cows.
It's the same reason I am not a huge fan of, like, say, standard ogres like Gutbusters. Too chubby. They got to hit the gym more. Get rid of that. All right, so the other 4 battalions break down into the god-marked battalions, right? So here there's one for each god, and as of this printing in the book alone, you cannot take them in a god-marked army. I want to unpack what that means. What I mean is that each of these battalions grants every unit in it the actual keyword of the god, right? So suddenly, if you're talking about, let's say, the brass despoilers, every unit in the battalion gains the corn keyword. As it stands right now, in the raw in the book, you cannot take this and put it in a actual, like, corn, blades of corn allegiance army. Correct. Where you're using blood tithe and all of that stuff. Okay?
Right.
Or Tzeentch and using your fate dice, or Slaanesh and using depravity, or whatever.
Yep. We can't do that.
As it's written right now. You cannot do that. Now, I'm walking through all of this, okay, to say, I understand commenters. I get it. We're going to get there. Don't worry. I have to walk through the whole thing. I don't need the actually. So, as Rue has pointed out, and as was said on the stream, and as has been commented multiple times by the people at GW, when the FAQ comes, which we'll get the standard 2-week delayed FAQ, which, by the way, if there are questions, you should send them into the FAQ email, as always. If you've got questions, now's the time. Send them in. Let's get them answered. But they have said that when that happens, as part of the FAQ, they are adding the clarification that will allow these to be used in the god-marked battalions, in the god-marked armies.
So the question is it going to be eroded and a new line is going to get it, or are they going to FAQ it? Because if they FAQ it and they're not careful with the wording,
they're only going to word it for these battalions, not the ever-chosen battalions.
So yes.
We'll see.
Number 2 is...
If it's an FAQ...
Yeah, but I wouldn't trust that these even get eroded into the god armies, because you're also talking about people on the stream that said Nagash's plus to cast will count towards doubling casting spells, which is not true.
That was in an article that got edited right after it went up. That wasn't on the stream.
They also said you'll be able to cast in their own write-ups and in their Stormcast podcast that you can cast endless spells through the skink priests through your slan, which they then said, no, you can't do that.
And they realized how good it was.
Well, that's the thing. So just be careful if it doesn't come down that way. I wouldn't say 100% that this is going to happen.
Nobody is accusing GW of being infallible.
Consistent.
Okay, there are a bunch of human beings, for goodness sake. Good Lord. Okay, cheese Pete's.
I didn't say that.
and like let's cut them some slack here.
Oh.
Remember, when they're writing those articles, they're writing an article about a book they probably haven't thought about for 9 months.
Oh, right.
It's fresh in your mind. It's not in theirs because they're actually thinking about the stuff that's coming down the pike like 9 months from now that they've been playtesting and working on, right? So they got to rewind their brain back.
Right, and I say all this not to knock on GW, to knock on the people that want to, start throwing. Why don't you just wait a minute and see what happens and take a deep breath? It'll all be okay.
Sure. So as it stands right now, we understand that Raw, they don't work in there. We're going to go ahead and talk about them as though that FAQ is real and they can be used in the God-marked battalion or God-marked armies. Okay?
Sure.
That's how we're going to talk about them because, Rue himself is on Twitter building his brass despoilers Cornagora army. He's pretty all in on it. So I'm going to assume that he's doing this for a reason and has been pretty clear about the intention.
Why would you take this battalion?
There's no point to get in an argument about it.
Yeah,
just assume that they're not lying, and that's how it works. Okay?
Why would you take
now? That's why I walked through all that slowly.
Two drop. To get to a 2-drop.
Murder Host is a 1-drop.
But you can't Murder Host and be Blood Secretor. And so what this gives you is the prayers with the rerollable prayers, the expanded range of the Blood Secretor, and then something meat to actually throw forward that aren't Reavers and Blood Warriors. It's not
Blood Letters. I'll take Blood Letters and a Gore Pilgrim all day over this. And I love this battalion. This is what I want to run. What I hope they say in the FAQ is that if you take this battalion, I can ally in Khorne, not just Slaves to Darkness, because I want to run this as Beasts of Chaos. I don't want to run this as Blades of Khorne. I just want to ally in 1 or 2 things from Khorne.
Sure, I get what you're saying. Yeah, which would also be a fun addition to it, to do it in reverse like that as well, to open up both venues.
That's what I'd like.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Like in this, it also as the Khorne.
Right.
Yeah, that could be cool.
You mean I could run an Ogre Thaumaturge in a Beast of...
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It would be neat to go both directions with it. I'm down with that. I do. I haven't seen them say that that's what they're going to do, but it'd be neat if they did.
Yeah. They have not said that.
No. But see, that's the one. They're going to have to, when they release an FAQ for this, they're going to have to also release and touch on an FAQ for all those God-marked armies also, because...
Not necessarily. If it's simply an errata, that says, with this battalion, it may be included.
Hold on. All the available allies have changed now, because now you have Beasts of Chaos, and those armies ally with Bray Herd and War Herd. They don't ally with Beasts of Chaos.
Yeah,
so
but
do I just get to use part of this?
No, you get to use everything here because it all suddenly is Khorne. Like the errata, theoretically, what it would state is
no.
What
he's saying, stop. What he's saying though is that the current ally charts say like Bray Herd as allies, and what he's saying is Bray Herd are part of Beasts of Chaos, so it's not. So do you ally when you ally Bray Herd? Does everybody get you get all Beasts of Chaos, or do you still only get Bray Herd? Do you get a sub faction of Beast of Chaos?
Right. So Khorne right now can ally with War Herd, I think it is, but not Thunderscorn. But now they're all in one book as Beast of Chaos. So can Khorne ally in Thunderscorn because it's all in one, or can they just ally in the War Herd portion of this book, and so on and so forth? That's why I think the errata needs to kind of touch on that also potentially.
Sure, like just clean up all of that. That's fine.
Yes.
I mean, the answer to that is raw. Like right now.
Right. It's only a portion of the book.
It's
correct.
Only a portion.
Right.
But sure.
Yep.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, I like the Brass Despoilers. I think it has a really good ability too. Like, I think its ability is actually quite good.
Yes.
Mainly not for the reroll ones, but for the reroll wounds. Like that, you can unleash that bestial rage once around. You can reroll like all failed wound rolls for attacks made by units from the battalion. Like I think this army with a Blood Secretor and backed up maybe with either a Gore Pilgrims or just the Blood Secretor or however you're spinning that out is pretty great. Like these guys get pretty scary. In a Khorne army doing that, blood tithing and pilot. Like, why would you want to do that in a blood tithe army? Because a giant pack of +1 attacking, re-rolling wounds. Vestigor attacking in the hero phase is pretty freaking brutal.
But bloodletters do it better. Is the thing.
I'm not
Mortal
sure I agree
wounds
with
on
that
a
totally.
mortal wounds on a 3-up.
No,
I
you're
understand.
you're assuming a bunch of buffs. Like
Right.
You're assuming a bunch of buffs on those Bestigors too.
I'm not. I'm just assuming Bestigor and Blood Tie. That's it. I'm just literally saying Bestigor.
Like these are the passive
30 Bestigor.
Right.
Yeah, the passive buffs on them. Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
Fair enough.
you know,
In the battalion,
And-
the passive buffs in the battalion.
Right. I just want to go the other way. Like, I want this battalion, but I just want to ally in 2 blood secretors and call it a day. And that's
That
why
won't happen. That I can
Don't-
already tell you that will not happen.
Don't talk dirty to me now. Now you stop it.
It's not going to happen.
as has been pointed out, bringing the Pestilent Throng, the Nurgle one, right,
Yeah.
would obviously let all your Bulgors and Doom Bulls and stuff now run in charge if they got near the tree,
Yes.
right? Because they're all suddenly Nurgle marked and could bing, shoot themselves off of that. I think the Nurgle one is interesting all over the place.
Are there any
because I
bonuses
actually
to
think,
hit? Like there are
Are
bonuses.
there any
to hit in
bonuses
this.
to hit?
No, really. There's just like reroll ones. That's about it.
A lot of
There-
reroll.
You're saying there are no pluses to hit in this book.
I don't believe so.
I'm
Maybe
trying-
give out the
obviously,
spells.
the Zinch Shaman stuff gives you.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's only
Like
for the
zine.
Zinch stuff.
It only keywords off the other
you can do that.
stuff.
I'm just
The
thinking
Doom
about
Bull
getting,
is bonus to wound. The
The
something I-
Ungor Raiders get reroll hits of 1 and 2.
No, I'm just thinking about finding
that's
a way.
right. The Bestigor have their own. I thought so. The Bestigor have their own built-in +1 to hit.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Thank
the
you.
It's only if they're
Bestigor,
targeting certain things.
right?
Well, I mean, it's enemy units with 10 or more models, sure, but that's
Right.
a pretty light restriction.
So
No, I agree.
the Bestigor become a really good target for blades of putrefaction because they're triggering those mortals on 5s in Nurgle armies now.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, sure. Yes, of course. How could we forget? That's so funny. Thank you very much, Red Wizard. So Red Wizard pointed out, like, obviously there's the toot horn, right? That's +1 to hit the turn you ambush. But theoretically, you're not getting that horn if you're in
Nurgle.
If you're in Nurgle.
Right.
But the Beast Lord himself, so funny. The Beast Lord himself, his command ability,
Okay.
right?
His command ability is
Then you can re-roll both hit and wound rolls if the Beast Lord slays somebody. So it's re-rolling. It's not a bonus, but it's still more fights at
you
the
got to
apple
slay a
get those.
hero to do hits and
Correct. That's why I didn't even think about it, because
Yeah.
it's such a now pause for the cause, right? Like
give him the Gave spawn.
You know, well, you can't be because you're in
No,
Nurgle.
if you're
But,
Nurgle.
like,
that's right. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But like, there's no reason you couldn't have souped that dude up, right?
Correct,
With
right.
like something apropos that'll actually make him a killer, so you have a chance to go get that. Like you can get the realm artifacts on him, like make him -3 rend or something. I don't know. He can go hunt something.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is that there's not a lot, but sure, the Nurgle one is my. I'm a huge fan of the Slanesh one because Slanesh has a battalion now. If we're assuming that's the case,
Slanesh will have a
Welcome
whole
to-
book in a couple months. So
well, this is my crutch to get me there until I get it. Look, all you people with your battalions and all your choices, and you are the 3 gods. Slanesh has a hot 0 right now, hot goose egg on the battalion.
I actually love that
So-
battalion too, for one reason.
Okay.
It includes everything.
Yes.
It can be a 1-drop
Except
battalion.
the Zinch stuff. It should be stated that out of the God marked armies and out of the battalions, the only battalion that actually includes the
Zinch and
Zangor
Zinch.
stuff is the Phantasmagoria.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting one because it turns your army into short range unbinders. Like everything can unbind, but it's only within 9
Everything.
inches. But everything can
Everything.
unbind.
Yeah.
Everything. You have
Yeah.
unlimited 9-inch unbinds, basically.
I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Short range, but funny.
With as good as all the Zangor stuff is, I probably won't run any Zangor stuff just because I feel like it's cheating to me.
Oh, it won't be. Like, I don't think people are going to be running Zangor, honestly. Like, I don't think you're going to see a lot of that.
I think you're wrong.
I think you're crazy.
Enlightened are ridiculous.
You're going to see
Skyfires are good.
Enlightened.
And you're going to see, unless they reword the scroll, you're going to see a lot of people running Zangor with one guy with a shield and the rest with paired weapons.
No, because the guy with the shield, you have to put the wounds.
No, you don't.
Read the scroll now. Read the scroll.
Oh, did they change it?
They changed the wording.
Oh, yes.
So suddenly, we hadn't talked about it yet, but yeah, the regular Zangor, like one guy with a scroll, with a shield, suddenly gives the entire unit that ability, and you do not have to kill that guy off.
Nope.
Now, I would imagine that's a hot target for an FAQ, because I don't know if that was intentional or not, but nonetheless,
I think,
again,
that's an oversight that they're going to have to fix.
Yeah. No, I agree. The Slaanesh one's cool. I don't hate its ability. Its ability's fine, where you can reroll charge rolls and stuff like that. When you're near heroes with artifacts, okay, cool, whatever. Like, it's a decent enough radius. It's fine. What I like about the Depraved Drove, the Slaanesh battalion, is one, it's the cheaper on the cheaper end of the Godmark battalions. It's only 150, right, as opposed to like the Phantasmagoria, which is 200. That's a big difference. That's a command point of difference, right? And it does include everything non-Tzeentch, right? Like, you can have 1 to 4 of any of the heroes and 3 to 6 of a bunch of different units, including, by the way, the stuff you would actually care to have, like, say, Ungor Raiders and Ungors and stuff like that. And you can have 0 to 6 units of Dragon Ogres and Bastigors and Golgors. So, I mean, like, you can, and then up to 2 Cygor Gorgons. Like, you can build this out more or less how you want as a 1-drop.
Yep.
Or mix it in with a little bit of Slaanesh stuff, too. Like, here you could go 2-drop and bring in, like, an Exalted Keeper, right? Just to have another Depravity farm machine. She doesn't need another target for her command ability beyond herself, right? Like, who cares? She is always the best choice for piling in and attacking twice. So, yay. And, like, Shaggoths are great for Depravity machines. You know, they're 10 wound Depravity machines.
Yeah.
Like, Doom Bulls, 8 wounds, pretty killy. Again, pretty great Depravity machines. Like, all of these things when Mark Slaanesh are actually really great. Even Beast Lords, right? Just straight up, good old-fashioned Beast Lord. Nice little 5-wound hero at 90 points, but he's killy enough and, you know, die-y enough that he's a nice little Depravity maker. So,
I mean, what I'll say is this. I like, actually, the Phantasmagoria, because I can finally, like, just make a Zangor army. Like, that I can just, like, put all of it into a single thing. And whether I run this... Say what? Well, right. I mean, if I did that, I would use, like, Shartor or one of the Forge World and convert them over into, like, a Zangor Dragon Ogre. But, I don't know. Like, I appreciate that. I will say that. Like, I am pulled by the desire to simply make a Zangor-themed army. That's what I'll say.
Sure.
And this finally allows that.
Yeah, the Phantasmagoria does that. It absolutely does that. And it is expensive as a 200-point battalion, but that being said, it has a pretty interesting ability. Like, an army of Unbinders is pretty silly.
And it can really be a 1-drop also. I mean, pretty...
Oh, it's totally...
Pretty nicely a 1-drop. Because you still got everything else you can need in there from... If you didn't want to go just Zangor, your Bestigors are in there, you know, well, yeah, that's actually why I think that is one of the good things about the Phantasmagoria, is it has all the good units that you would probably want for your sort of baseline in the 3 to 9. That is to say, it has like your Bestigor, your Zangor, and your Ungor Raiders. Right, your sort of battle line choices that you were probably going to have anyways, and at the same time, it allows up to 9 units of like your freaking, of course, 9 because you know Tzeentch, but of it, you know, up to 9 units of all your like Enlightened and stuff like that. So I mean, you can really trip this out in just about any way you want, and it allows any hero. It's not like you just have shamans or something, right? It's 1 to 4 of the. This is the only battalion that literally allows
any of the heroes.
Yep.
Right? Because it has the shaman folded in.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I would be tempted to do a Phantasmagoria Gav spawn.
Sure.
Because of the chaos spawn like stuff already being Zinchi. And then you're like everybody's unbinding 2 unbinds on your general.
Yep.
And it's just a party.
I'll be honest. I like these battalions so much. This is why I really hope that they change the allies. Where if you take this battalion, I can ally in some Zinch stuff, so I can pull 1 or 2 other things I want, like the Ogroid, just because he fits the theme of the army. I want him in, or in a Khorne army, I can pull in something, or in the Nurgle, I can pull in something. Slanesh, I can have the whole army with a Keeper of Secrets chilling out back or something. Just.
I mean, the biggest problem is you got to be careful with that stuff around your herdstone.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Right? Because if you stay in beasts, your herdstone is going to chew off those units' armor as well.
Yes. Yep. And that's fine. That's the penalty you take. I'm okay with that. Sure. But I would like to see it cross back just for a coherency sake of building the army more narratively than just competitively, I guess.
Sure. No, that's fair. All right, so let's quickly here. Let's talk about some scrolls.
Can we talk about the scroll that's missing out of this?
Sure. What scroll is missing? Are the Ogroid Thaumaturge again? Is that we're still beating on that drum?
No. This is the only book I know of that does not have a special character.
Oh, that has no named beast.
No named character. Yeah, no named character whatsoever. Every other book has at least 1 named character.
I'm trying to think back on that, and. I mean, it's certainly at least the last 4. That's the case. Yeah.
Every book.
This is the nameless throng, man. Okay? Like they're just nobody is special here.
Reef is in here somewhere, right?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, Reefy the Beast Lord. We all know he's here. Somewhere he's happy, and he probably doesn't know why.
Something like a name
he had to wait a long time.
Beast Lord or a name Greater Bray would have been. But that's fine.
Yeah.
Just that was just something I noticed. Is the only book I've seen that doesn't have a single named character.
Yeah. So rather than I don't want to blow scroll by scroll here, so I want to move through these kind of quickly. Because we've already touched on a lot of them, so I want to touch on more of like the beast mode or bad scrolls. The Beast Lord himself is fine at 90 points or whatever. He's fine. His command ability is he's fine. His command ability is like the next level of stupid and worthless. Okay. But that's fine because if you're in any of the other ones, you're just going to replace the command ability. Anyways, if you're in the realms, you'll get a command ability. Like,
can we talk about the conversion opportunities for like doing the Beast Lord / Doom Bowl, probably Doom Bowl conversions out of Ogre Thaumaturges for the Phantasmagoria? Like, there's
everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
In the Facebook group, everybody's doing it.
Yeah.
It's I mean, there are a lot of other things ready to turn into Doom Bulls. Let me just say, and I'm fine with that. Like, yep. Good.
So I also bought from the Lord of the Rings miniature stuff, one of their Mordor trolls, because he's kind of armored up. He's going to get a Minotaur head, and he's going to be a Doom Bull. Because he's the right size, he's on a 60 mil, and it's different, and no one I know has done it. So
nice. Somebody mentioned if you want to make a Doom Bull for your Phantasmagoria to take the replace the face of the Doom Bull with the Lord Aquilor Mount's head, like the bird head,
the bird bull.
So someone has taken the Ogroid Thaumaturge and taken the goat head from the Torlon, the Lord Arcana.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And cut the neck down a little bit and put that head on. It looks a little bit giraffe in the neck, but it looks really, really cool.
That's awesome.
That's pretty good.
And then someone took the upper half of the Ogroid Thaumaturge and put him on the Arcanumon Dracoline body because the Arcanum comes off the regular Draco line, still have all the legs and crap mounted to it, but the Arcanum is separate. So now they just got to cover in the saddle area, and they're making a Shaggoth that way. so many conversions for this army, which is awesome. I love it.
Yeah, because these guys are meant to be weird mutants, right?
Yep.
And stuff like that. So yeah, sure. It's just like you can let your imagination run wild.
Yeah.
Right, which is fantastic.
Just don't put them on a bigger base.
Well, not to mention the fact that there's a long history of these guys having different manifestations through things like Pestigore and Cornigore and stuff like that, right?
Well, did you read real quick? Did you read any of the lore in this book yet? Where they
I read through some of it. Yeah, like I read through the early part where it talks about their story and like the legends of their beginning and stuff like that.
Well, they talk in there how there's a shark beastman with the top halves of sharks that the Idoneth have encountered. There's boar ones and all types of animals. So you can find a lot of animal heads around in the GW range that can go on the upper half and the head portions of some of these and make some unique conversions. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, this is a conversion ready army, no doubt about it. Yeah. Okay, so Beast Lord's fine. He's forgettable, but he's cheap, so who cares? He is what he is. The Great Bray Shaman is, I think, a nice standout. Great base spell, good additional spells, and also, like, we cannot forget the infused with Bestial Vigor, right? That if he's got a Bray Herd unit wholly within 12 of him at the start of the
which includes himself.
That's correct. He's always within range of himself. He adds 3 inches to their movement, so he himself always has a move of 9 inches just by existing.
He makes this army the Roadrunner.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crazy bonus for an army that basically runs and charges for a living, right? Gore do it, Bestigore do it, Ungor do it, Zangor do it. They're all Bray Herd. Everybody's running and charging. Everybody's getting 3 on their move. So it's just like, yeah, speed kills. We're talking about it like these are foot troops that, under most circumstances, should, before they charge, move an average of, like, if assuming there's a shaman around, move 12.5 inches without any other things happening. All right, just on the normal dice roll.
Yep,
it's pretty good. It's pretty good for foot troops.
You will need to know where to set up your front lines against this army. Like you need to know their ranges.
Yep.
Yeah. Because all their banners add, +1 to their run and pile-ins also in the on the beat Brayherd side.
Yep. It's real good. They're real fast, like stupid fast, crazy fast. Yet another reason why I would never take first turn.
No, I agree.
Alphaing a suicide, you run away from your rock. There's no point to put your army into them at the top of 1. That's just like, that's a good way to lose the game. Sit back. You can be way off your own line. You can be back farther. You don't need to be that close because you can be so fast. You can still get way out into the table easily, right? And depending on the units, like there are certainly units in here that will pretty easily clear 2 feet within their turn, right? You guys are zippy quick. So it's, yeah. Okay. Cool. Yep. Great Bray Shaman, thumbs up. Good dude at 120. That's what he is, right? He's 120. Not wrong on that.
He's 100, I think.
Boo. Where's my Great Bray Shaman? 100, even. I'm sorry. I up-costed him. Yeah, good dude at 100. I like him. Sorry. I like him better at 100. Why was I thinking 120? Oh, Doombolt price is in my head for some reason because I was already thinking ahead to the Doombolt, who is 120. And I'm all about that. We already mentioned the Gore and the Ungor. I love Ungor in this edition. They're ridiculous in here. At 40 for 200, right? And with basically the same attack profile as Gore. Right? I mean, it's pretty close.
Not to mention they can take the spears that have a 2-inch range so they can actually fight from extra ranks where the Gore can't. They only have 1-inch range. So in a pack of 30, half those guys aren't fighting, but your Ungors in a pack of 40, you can get a lot more attacks in if you choose to throw these fools to the blender.
Yeah. I mean, like obviously the downside with the Ungor is they don't have a way to gain extra attacks. They have good reroll capability. Right? Like if there's more than 30 of them, they can reroll hit rolls of 1 and 2.
And a gauge spawn, they can get extra attacks.
Sure,
Indeed.
Sure. I just meant like base. What the advantage the Gores have is their Anarchy and Mayhem thing, right? Where if they're above 20 models, they add 1 to their attack profile. The problem is that, and you know, I saw somebody in the comments talk about their awful armor. Yeah, everything in this army dies easy.
Yeah.
Like everything dies easy. You know, the fact that Gore are 5 up and in combat go to a 4 up. These guys are 6 up and in combat go to a 5 up. Who cares? They're all going to die in droves. Like this army is, and you should treat these guys like throwaway, right? Like these guys should just run into things and explode, or alternatively, they're amazingly effective chaff.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're not the best chaff. The best chaff we're going to talk about in a moment, because that's the other side of Ungor. But you know, Ungor are also battle line, right? Yep. So like, I mean, as our base Gore for that matter. But these guys are so great for their price. For that price, I love everything about them. The fact that they can run and charge, the fact that they get extra movement to their run, the fact that it becomes, you know, decently possible to do enough with them, you know, and they're just as buffable by all the rest of this crap we've talked about.
Yep.
Right.
So
like
they're the skinks
none of this.
Chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Skinks of chaos. And in an army that, like, yeah, you're like, well, they don't have rend. Well, this army has 80 million ways to deal with armor, so who cares? Just throw numbers at people, right? Like this is just like boo, 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 ones and zeros. Just hit people with numbers, and you know, in most cases, they'll die.
You're a Shaggoth spell away from Neg 1 Rend. Not a problem.
Sure.
There you go.
Or a Bray Shaman spell away from Neg 1 to their save.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, exactly. How much rend do you need? I can get it for you. Not a problem.
I mean, you know, you pointed it out, the weakness earlier, and it is worth mentioning that the bravery of this army is almost universally garbage.
4s and 5s. Yeah.
Yeah, like your Bestigor are your bravest dudes at 6, right? And, you know, even they're going to hoof it. See what I did there?
That was a bad pun.
Yes. If you know, if any of these things take casualties, they're booking. Who cares?
I have 100 more of them running on.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about Ungor Raiders, who are maybe the greatest. The other reason I would never go first is also to do with Ungor Raiders, because you have the greatest anti-alpha sort of, you know, technology here in your Ungor Raiders. Ungor Raiders 10 for 80 points. So good.
Pretty good.
Not battle line anymore, sadly, but they have little Raider bows. They're great in 10s. They're great in 10s and they're great in 40s. That's what I'll say. What I love about Ungor Raiders is I love them in both at both settings. In 10s, they're like the world's perfect chaff wall, right? Because they, at the start of the game, have like old school Vanguard, where not at the start of your turn, again, like before the first battle round begins, they get to move 6 inches.
Right.
So you can like set up and then push lines way out to stop things like Dreadwood, to zone off parts of the board, all this other stuff. And again, when these guys die, who cares?
See ya.
That is the point. And then in 40s, right, what happens is you get this massive block of shooters who can be buffed in a host of different ways, including the Corn Battalion, right? Where they can suddenly reroll all their wounds, and including a lot of other ways and all the Ren stuff that we've talked about. But you're getting a unit that can shoot. You know, if it's 40 guys, there is a way to get them extra attacks. Talked about the Gav spawn. That adds to missile attacks. So, you know, you can get these guys.
Gav spawn triggers at the beginning of the combat phase, though. So no, it doesn't.
Oh, you're right.
Correct.
Yep, you're right. Until the end of the phase. I'm sorry. You're exactly right. I apologize, Tom. Thank you. Because that is a combat phase trigger. But anyways, you've got these guys. You can make, you know, they're popping out 40 shots. They can be re-rolling 1s and 2s. Depending on the other battalion, they could be, you know, depending on the other battalions, they could be doing other stuff like re-rolling their wounds or whatever. And they're great. Like, shooting's back, and Ungor Raiders brought it back. They're the ones who resuscitated it.
I like a block of 40 of these, and they may be the only unit I set up an ambush. Just because they pop off, and now if you were coming towards me, now you've got to turn around and deal with these idiots in the back line that are just popping shots at you.
Sure, and it should be stated, obviously, that they can still run and shoot, right?
Mm-hmm.
That they're on 25 mil bases, right? So they're on little tiny baby bases. So they have actually a relatively small footprint. Yeah, I mean, like I like everything about them. I think they're a wonderful. Like I said, what I love about them is they're good, small. They're good, big.
Mm-hmm.
I am sad that they don't have a horde discount, but I understand why they don't, because they're already really good. So,
same reason they took it away from skinks.
Yeah, sure, it's fine. Bestigor are amazing. I mean, Bestigor are
the best of gore.
The best of gore. These dudes are ridiculous. Again, I think they're again solid at 10 or 30. I don't know that I'd ever take 20, but like at a 10 or a 30, they're 120 for 10 or 300 for 30, right? These guys are 2 attacking, 4 up, 3 up, neg 1 rend, 1 damage. They get an extra attack if they charge. It's just self buff, so they go up to 3 attacks each.
Yep.
They get 1 to hit whenever they target enemy units with 10 or more models, and you can reroll hit rolls of 1 if they're targeting order. So they go to 3s and 3s, pretty directly if they hit anything with 10 or more. I mean, again, they can run and charge.
They're already rend 1. You can give them rend a million. Right.
Like these guys are just one of the best like elite infantries in the game, right? I mean, that is a true statement.
And they are priced like those other elite infantries. What I mean by that is you're buying them at like White Lion prices.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when they charge, they get +1 attacks. So now they're at 3 attacks apiece. You add them in Gave Spawn, and they get another +1 attack there. So now they're 4 attacks apiece. Give them a little bit of rend, your herd stones. These guys are blenders.
Yep. And again,
and their battle line if your general's a beast lord.
Yep.
I mean,
which I don't know that that's worth it. I mean, maybe.
No,
it
depends. Not worth it. I'll take my Ungor as my battle line, and these guys are just my beat stick.
I mean, on the flip side, you could run 90 of these in a beast lord.
Let me say it this way.
Hold on.
It's not just a beast lord. Their battle line, if your general is a beast lord or a shaman, and there are many cases where I would take the shaman as the general.
Sure. Let me say it this way, though. You could run these guys. You could run 90 of these and a shaman general at 1,000 points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If I was, in all honesty, I had thought of that, and if I go and play at Adepticon in the Vanguard tournaments, that's exactly what I was thinking. Why would I not? I mean, they're gonna mow some stuff down. That are just some dragon ogres and a shaggoth, and call it a day. But the bodies, I like these guys. They are the best for a reason.
Yep. They good. Do we have anything to say about Tuskor chariots?
I have one.
Because I don't. Because I think they're bad.
They're bad because you can take some hounds to do it better, or some Centaur to do it even better.
Centaur are the right answer. Hounds are terrible. But
I don't know. Hounds has a good chaff out there.
The advantage to the Tuskor chariot is that it is Brayherd, and if set up as an ambushing unit, it has its own built-in charge reroll.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it itself always gets to reroll its own charges. So it's an interesting thing to set up and just slam into shooting units and make play, just basically play like tie up their shooting units. They got to turn it and blow it off the table, which they will. But who cares?
I mean, it's what, 80 points?
Do anything? No. Oop.
What in the world? It's what, 80 points for this thing, if I recall.
I'd run it at like 60 maybe.
I was just gonna say if this goes to 60 at some point, I could see running 2 or 3 of these. I'm okay with that because they do have the best of gore despoiler rule. They do have, they do have a fair amount of attacks. They're not a lot, but they can go in and do a little bit of cleanup work. They're on a 4-up save, but at 80 points, I'd rather have bodies than this thing.
Yeah, I think it's terrible. Doom Bull's my new hero. It's a shame they removed the command ability synergy with the regular Bulgor and Bloodgreed, but I don't care. This guy's still my hero. I love my Doom Bulls. I love that he's 8 wounds. I love that he's 120 points. I love that he's now a 4-up save.
He's my second favorite hero.
I agree. I would actually rate that the same. I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's my second favorite. I like the model too, just the stock model, let alone the conversion potentials and alternate scopes. I like everything about him.
Yeah, that's just pointing out the Chariot's 60. I still don't think the Chariot's worth it at 60.
It is 60.
Yeah.
Not terrible.
It's
give it to me at 40 and we'll talk. Whatever it needs to drop by 10 at least.
Well, I mean,
I don't see the role for most Chariots other than as shooting pinners.
Yeah, in that space, you're competing for, with Chaos Spawn in a Gav Spawn list, which is a 5-point. That's the space that you're in, and I agree. It may not be.
Well, it's also 10 Ungor.
Well, yeah.
Sure. I'd probably rather have 10 Ungor.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd rather have the bodies. That's why this guy needs to go down at least 10 points to make me think about him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about our 2 big Griblies. Let's talk about the Cygor and the Gorgon. Okay.
Garbage and okay.
All right. You want to back that up a little? You want to talk about the Cygor's 180?
Yeah.
The Gorgon's 200. So you want to talk about why you think that's the case? I agree with you.
The Cygor
unpack that some.
Yeah, the Cygor throws a rock that hits almost never. He's a cannonball
its average
shot.
Damage is the average damage on the rock thrown is against non-wizards is 1.3 or something.
And if I recall, he used to do, if he was able to unbind a spell, which I do like that ability, he can attempt to unbind 2. I think he used to do D3 mortal wounds to a wizard. Now he just does 1. So he's just forgettable to me. He's on a 5-up save. He's got 14 wounds, great, but he's got a degrading move, so he's slow. Compared to the rest of everything in this army, he's slow at an 8-inch base move. No,
they get slower.
Yeah, exactly.
My real problem with him is this. Yeah, the rock is just basically does nothing. If you buy this guy, you're buying this guy to have a double dispeller that does a kickback, right? That's his purpose.
Right.
Because the rock is going to be out of range so easily. And by the way, if this guy takes wounds, the rock's range goes down.
Yeah, this guy's junk. He's
so
bad.
I stand behind that. I think he's bad. He is bad.
If this guy could get a bonus to his unbind, I'd be okay with him, but he can't. So
if he had 2 unbinds, even with a +1, or 2 unbinds with rerolls or something like that.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that.
Even 1 unbind with a +1, I could find a spot for him. I really could. But he don't make the cut. Sorry.
Yep. The Gorgon is, again, at 200, this guy's, he shows up because he is dude's a melee machine, no doubt about it. He's got 5 attacks on 3s and 3s, Ren Neg 1 that are 3 damage each, and he's got 1 attack on 4s and 2s at Neg 1 D6 damage. He has his Swallow Whole attack, and what's notable about it is that the Warpnaw Vermalord, it's equal to or greater than their wounds characteristic.
Yep.
Right? And he snipes the model out, so he can pick out your relevant units, your champions, your standard bearers, your musicians, your whatever. It also means that he is much more likely to kill 5 wound models, right? It's a big statistical difference to Swallow Whole, or the other people who have attacks like this, usually they have to roll greater than. So if you're dealing with a 5 wound hero, you got to roll the hot 6, right? Whereas the this is if it's equal to or greater than. So you only need to roll a 5. 33% chance versus 16% chance. It's that easy. He's not bad. He can be modified by all the monster stuff we've talked about. It's cool.
The only reason I like him is for that eat a person ability. Because I get he can be a melee monster, but for his points, I'd rather have some more Bestigor.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. You're going to be hard pressed to really get him punching above his weight like that. I mean, the argument would be he is synergistic with all the Warherd stuff, and he is takeable in all the battalions without increasing your drops, right? Like raw power, when we get to the Chimera, there's no comparison.
Correct.
But there's no battalion where you're getting a Chimera off the rip. You can summon them, but there's no like off the rip Chimera.
True.
Right.
True.
Whereas this guy's in there, he's also Warherd. He can, he can self-heal.
Yeah, but he's only moving 8, degrading.
Sure.
He doesn't run in charge unless you build specifically for that, so he's getting left in the dust.
Only 200 points.
Yeah, so he's not bad. That's what I'm saying. Like,
20 Bestigor that can run in charge.
I call it, well, they're 240, but I would call him I would call him good. Like he's good. That's what I'll stand behind. He's like solid 6, man. You're a solid 6.
Yeah.
You know, there are so many synergies that you can do with this guy. I have no issue with him being there. He's a sweet ass model.
I agree,
no joke. This guy's amazing looking.
Agree.
So it's fine.
He's actually the base for my Shaggoth, like the torso. I'm gonna cover up one of his armholes, and he's going on the Stardrake body. If I can make it work, that's my goal.
Yeah, you should be able to do that. And why get rid of 2 of his armholes? Shaggoths have extra arms.
No, they've got front arm. Because it's already got 4 legs for the Stardrake, and then he just needs the 2.
Shaggoths are 8-limbed.
Are they really?
Yeah. Shaggoths have 4 legs, like a dragon ogre.
Right.
Okay. Yep. And then they have
they've got those 2 little stubbies. That's right.
Yeah, they have little stubby baby legs.
Yeah.
They have little like T-Rex arms.
Yeah. That's right.
And then they have like their big muscly arms.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so that he would work.
I assume a Shaggoth is somehow related to the arachnid family or whatever.
Anyhow.
Okay. So
or just chaos.
Sure. Bulgor, fine. If you liked Minotaurs before, you probably like them now. They're 3 for 160. They're fine at that price. They're quite destructive. They still have, some different build outs.
Do you like them over dragon ogres?
I think there are good arguments for both. That's what I will say. The base Rend Neg 2 option on the Bulgor is what makes them attractive. The built-in charge bonus on Bulgors makes them attractive. It's not as insane as their old charge bonus. They used to have like the stupidest charge bonus in the game. Their banner was like +1 to charge for every enemy unit within 12 inches.
Yeah, now it helps their bravery, which is good.
Yeah, I mean they have their
blood greed.
They do the mortal wounds. It doesn't get buffed anymore. It's on an unmodified 6. So it can't be robbed from them, but there's not a lot of stuff in the meta that's neg 1 to wound anyways.
Right.
I don't know. They're fine. I think they're perfectly fine for what they are. They're deadly as all get out with those neg 2/3 damage axes.
Yes,
that's what it comes down to. They will crack nuts at neg 2 Ren 3 damage.
I mean, even in their paired axes, 3 attacks at neg 1/2 damage apiece. You get an extra attack per guy. Isn't not terrible because I can give them some extra rend if I need to.
Sure, yeah. I mean, the army has lots of neg rend. Obviously, what they're susceptible to is all the neg 1 to hits crap that's floating around the meta right now, right?
Right, because they hit on 4s.
Yeah, they're on
there's
base 4s.
And there's a lot of that.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's suddenly like, woof, they go to a bad spot real fast with even 1.
Yeah.
Right, with even 1, it gets rough fast.
And that's why I kind of like the Dragon Ogres over them, because the move to hitting on 3s, I like better.
It's a big deal. No, I get it. Like I said, I can see arguments both ways. I don't think either are bad. That would be my ultimate argument. Centaur are really good and interesting and annoying because they're old, terrible models. So welcome to converting your own
which is
Centigore
easy.
if you want them. Sure. It's just gore bodies on any old horse body. It's pretty straightforward.
Yep.
Like, yeah, it's not tough.
I'm in, baby.
Sure, but I mean, they're like, I quite like Centigore. They're 5 for 80, so it's 10 wounds for 80 points.
Mhm.
They're fast as nonsense. They can, I mean, they hit like feathers. Okay, like
Right.
they are, but they fulfill the role of like seekers, basically, right?
Yep.
Not Hellstriders, seekers.
Right.
You know, they run faster. Their base 14-inch move. They have a banner that makes them run faster, like an extra inch. They can run and charge.
If they're near a Bray Shaman, they get 3 more inches.
Right, yeah, because they're still Bray Herd.
Yeah,
I mean, like...
They're covering 3/4 of the board.
Yeah, they're super fast. I just, like, I don't know that they're fine. If you had to spare 80 points, they're a good 5 to hold back near, like, your Shaman and send them out in turn, like, 3, 4, 5 to grab an objective. Because they'll get there.
These guys, for me, kind of... See, Unger are only 60 points, but these guys chaff out better for Unger because these guys can just run out there and protect my guys.
Well, yeah, they can go long, too, because they can all Tokyo drift, right? Because they're on 60 by 35s.
Yep.
So they can cover quite a bit of space with those 5 dudes and an inch in between when they get out there in Conga. And, like, yeah, whatever, fine. Somebody picks a middle one out and I lose 2 more. Who cares? Like, I don't care. I really don't care.
No.
They're there to die. And it's not that crazy of a line. We come to one of the big winners of the book, the Shaggoth. 10 wound, still a monster, but not with a chart and not a behemoth.
Yep.
He did lose an attack, but he's still good. You know, 3 attacks on 3s and 3s, neg 1, 3 damage. He's got his little forelimbs that actually have rend. He's got his little sweeping tail. He's a wizard. He has a decent enough spell. I love everything about the Shaggoth. I think he's fantastic. At 180 points for an 8-inch move, 10 wound, 4-up save hero.
Not even that for a wizard. I mean,
he is amazing.
Yeah. He puts the Ogreroid Shaman to shame.
Well, think about it. What's
this guy?
The cheap wizard's 80 points at the cheapest. So I'm paying
like your little goblin.
Yeah, so I pay 80 points for just the wizard portion of him. I'm paying 100 points for the extra, like, 6 wounds, the extra 4-inch movement, the 4-up save. Like, I'll take this guy.
Yeah, and he also has a great spell, like a somewhat hard to cast spell is the downside. And there's not a lot of, there's like basically, you know, casting bonuses aren't a thing in this army, really.
Correct.
What I will say is that you can add a D6 to all of his spell ranges.
Through the
through his move, his thunderstorm move,
his extra move,
the hero
phase
D6 move.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you add a D6 to all the spell ranges.
So you're just looking for that arcane terrain.
Sure. Yeah, I mean his spell's on a 7, but it's really good because it's pick a thunderscorn unit, and like you get to heal them, and who cares? That's not why you actually did it. You did it to give them reroll failed wound rolls, right? Until your next hero phase. That's where the power comes in. Dropping that on a 6er of Dragon Ogres is that's good stuff.
Yep.
That's good stuff. And then obviously, yes. So then the Dragon Ogres themselves, we've talked about them. These guys are pigs now. Mm-hmm. They're so good at 3 for 140, just like pigs. They're 5 wounds, 4-up save, just like pigs. They're an inch slower on the movement, but that's not real because of their Thunderscorn bonus, right? They're actually
like 2 inches
better. Yeah.
On average,
Right. They have lots of different choices. I think I actually prefer the Crusher, but whatever. You can pick what you like. If in 6ers, you should have the Glaives.
Yep. You should have a couple Glaives.
The thing is, you can mix weapons with them.
Mix and match. I was going to go. Yes, exactly.
Oh, yeah, baby. I'm all in.
So, like, in a 6-pack, I think I would probably run, like, 4, just knowing this size base and running with it on pigs. I would probably run 4 with the Crushers and 2 with the Glaives to go up and over the top.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yep.
Because generally, when you've got bases of this size and you make charges, you can get 4 in and 2 get stuck.
Yep.
So, there you go.
Now, you like the 2 damage Crusher over the 3 more attacks of the paired weapons?
I do.
With the
I really
reroll?
do. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yep.
The
it
paired
probably
weapons don't get a
mathematically-
reroll. That went away. The paired weapons don't get a reroll.
No, he just meant over the 6 attacks.
Oh,
the
yeah,
the
yeah.
reroll
Yeah.
hit rolls of 1 for this unit is when you're within a Shaggoth, right?
Right.
Yes.
Like
They're gonna be
ideally,
within
how
my
this unit is
Shaggoth.
attacking. Right. Ideally, how this unit is attacking is they're coming in with, like, take the Crushers, for example, in a sort of
Sure.
like quasi-ideal world where you have the power pair of them plus the Shaggoth. What has
Right.
happened is he's got his spell off on them. And so they're making, like, the Crusher attacks are 3 attacks, hitting on 3s, rerolling 1s. And then, your wound rolls on 3s with full rerolls, no rend, 2 damage. In a world of Night Haunt and Ghosty Boys, I like multi-damage attacks that
I
don't
agree.
have rend.
True. Yeah, because Ren doesn't
Um,
matter at that point. But.
Right. I like punching multiple ghosts to death.
Soft ghosts.
Yeah. So, but I mean, in general, I like multi-damage attacks. There are things in the game that are interesting that have reactions with 1 damage attacks that multi-damage attacks get over the top of. There's not a huge number of them, but they exist. So yeah. There you go.
I like a
there
unit
are
of
also
9.
penalties to multi-damage attacks sometimes too, but hey, whatever.
A unit of 9 of these guys with my Shaggoth, just go that way. Kill
It's
stuff.
too many. I think 6 is the most you can put in a unit. I really do.
They're just so big.
Yes, they
It's
take
just
up a
they're
lot
so
of
big.
space.
All right, so now we've got a little pack of monsters. Let's talk through them. Here we go. Ready? Here's the rundown. Chaos Warhounds. Junk, worthless, don't take them. No.
Lies.
Spawn.
Lies.
Why would you ever take them over Ungor? What are these guys possibly bringing to the table? They are the same price. The Warhounds are the same price as Gore. Not Ungor, Gore. And these are, they're fast-ish. They're a 10-inch move.
Well, they're 16 because they get a run, because I'm just going to run these guys out as a screen.
Okay. Cool, man. I can go just as far with Ungor and do it a heck of a lot cheaper. Like, these guys are
Raiders.
Yeah, these guys are
right.
so pointless.
That's
like,
true.
I don't want to burst your bubble. I'm
you're
being
right.
too mean on these guys. I'm being too hard on them.
No, you're actually right. The more I think about it, now that he mentioned Raiders and I get my movement before and every, they're crap.
And range
garbage.
attacks.
Yeah, they're garbage.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry, doggos. I love you. I love my Chaos Warhounds. I have a bunch of them. in my army.
Bad.
Time to convert them to direwolves.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
the Chaos Spawn, I don't see any purpose of it outside of Gab Spawn. In Gab Spawn, I think you obviously have at least 2 of these in your army. I mean, bare mins.
only way to do it. Yep.
Our old friend, the Jabberslythe. Oh, this poor guy. Oh, Jabby.
Still like him,
Jabby.
but
yeah, I mean, he's 160. Okay. And obviously, let's just talk about what happened.
he was bonkers, and now he's not.
He was bonkers.
He touched some people in some very bad places.
Yeah.
The relevant parts of what happened to the Jabberslythe is, 1, the aura doesn't stack anymore, right?
Good. Thank you. Good.
Sure. So if you're within range of any Jabberslythes, you roll once, and if you roll a 6, then it happens. Okay, fine.
Right.
The Madness aura. And 2, instead of a 4+ D3 mortal wounds, it's now 1 mortal wound.
Yep.
That is really the relevant things we're talking about here.
Okay with that too.
I mean, it is what it is. Like it moved him to a place of not playing him again.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know about not playing him.
My problem with him is there are just
Better
here's
options.
The thing. People have a tendency to overreact when things get nerfed. Okay, if we were in the void, if that old version of him never existed, take that out of your mind for a second. Try as you can to separate him. Right? He doesn't have a degrading profile anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Right? He's just a straight up 10 wound monster with a straight number of like all this stuff. So that's not bad.
Okay.
If you looked at this guy in the raw,
And you said he's 160.
He's 160, and if you just looked at him, I'm just let's forget the old Jabberslythe existed for a moment, okay?
Yep.
If I looked at this guy and I said he's 160, he's got 6 attacks at -2 rend. They're only 1 damage, but that's not bad. -2 rend's a good rend.
Yeah.
Right. And he has a neat aura that can be very powerful when it fires off, and he does cause pain to people who hit him still. My biggest problem, and he is a flyer with a 12-inch move. There's not, in your base army, there's not a ton of flyers.
Can I point out the problem?
Sure, go ahead.
Why run him over a Shaggoth?
Right, yes, you were going where I was going.
He's 20 points cheaper.
Yeah, but that's not anything.
I agree.
My argument is this. I actually don't think he's that bad. Like, I think he was just too good before. If you didn't see this nerf coming, you were like, what? Of course this was going to get nerfed, guys.
Yes.
Yep.
Like, it had bad play experience written all over it.
Right.
If you didn't see this coming, you really...
You weren't paying attention.
Like, yes, this was going to happen.
I ran into a guy at Nova that had two of these guys in his Gore Pilgrims, as allies, and I was like, no, they just decimated stuff.
Sure, and that's not me complaining about it. I thought, as has been pointed out, I thought they provided an interesting challenge. They were an interesting tactical challenge to think around of, like, how do you kill them without dying yourself? They were like Wrathmongers end up being, right?
Yeah.
So now, but again, take the old one out of it. I know I'm sad to see it go as well. And it is what it is.
Right.
I'm not going to sweat over nerfs. Things are going to get better. Things are going to get worse. Things change. That's just the nature of the thing. I don't care about what he was before. That's gone. I care about what he is now. And what he is now, I think, is fine. But it never gets picked. There's too many other choices in this army. That's my problem. He fell off the list of includes, right? I think he would be much more interesting at 140 rather than 160 if he hadn't gotten if his points hadn't moved around. If he was 140, I might see my way to have him in there.
Can I tell you where I like this guy?
Sure.
I like this guy being summoned in because now he can deep strike over there. And now what do? Do I go kill that thing? Do I run away from it?
Do you mean like summoning him? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
as a summon?
Yeah, I summon him as a deep strike because
what's his summon cost? I'm trying to remember.
I honestly don't remember. 6,
8.
7, 8.
He's an 8 summon.
Okay, so maybe turn 2 or 3, depending on my build, I can get him in. But now I put this guy, and you've got Nagash over there. Well, now Nagash needs to run away from this guy because, God forbid, my turn I get this guy close, and next turn Nagash rolls at 6. Now you can't cast any spells. You can't move. You can't attack. You can't do anything.
Yeah, I mean, he still does do a lot of, like, if you put him into big multi-attackers like Witch Elves and stuff, because it's win a wound, roll a dice each time a wound is allocated to this model.
Right.
Right? So if you put him into, like, a unit of Witch Elves that attacks him 90 times.
Yes.
Right? And they do whatever they do. Right?
They will blow themselves up.
They will still kill themselves, even on one.
The question is, do the additional damage, do you get to roll for those two like they did in the live stream, or do you think that is not correct?
It's allocated wounds. This has nothing to do with so this is
you allocate a wound and then save for it, correct? If the wound is allocated to the model, then you roll your saves. It's not what goes through your saves.
I have to go look this up because it's like, I wish I didn't have to, but this actually has a lot of nuance to it because an allocated wound has a very specific rules meaning.
Exactly. That needs an FAQ to know exactly because
you can allocate more wounds. So that's one of the questions that just came up in the comments. I know you can allocate more wounds to something than a unit has. Yeah, like that's certainly, yes, I know you can do that. The question is, how does that work with like damage preventions and stuff like that get triggered? I know this has an answer. I just don't remember. The point is that, like, yes, it can still go over its 10 wounds and it can still blow a thing up. But whatever. To me, it's not bad. It just doesn't make the list. You can have good things that don't make the cut.
Mm-hmm.
There are great baseball players in the minor league who won't make the cut to get into the majors. That doesn't make them bad baseball players. They're better baseball players than 99.9% of the human beings in the country.
Yeah.
Okay? They just don't happen to be quite good enough to hit the majors. You can be good and not make the cut. And to me, that's where this guy is now. There's so many other compelling choices in this army. I would find it hard to fit him in the list, especially as he doesn't show up on the battalions.
And that's
He
why I
doesn't,
say
to
as a
me-
summon, I won't pay points for this
as a
guy,
summon,
but I'll summon him.
I could see him as a summon. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't pay points for him because you're right. He doesn't have that place.
Yeah, if I ended at 8 and had a good chance to like slide him sort of somewhere interesting. Now, obviously, you're not going to get somebody in aura off the summon because he's got to be 9 inches away, right? And that's one of the problems. But that being said, like, if I could slide him in to, slide him into them DMs where basically I can kind of shove him in the way of where somebody needs to go. So they've got to go in and melee him and hurt themselves real bad. Yeah, if I had like 8 summon points on the nose, sure. Yeah, there you go. Okay, so now let's talk about a real winner. All right, we ready to talk about the big winner chicken dinner?
Cockatrice?
The cockatrice, baby.
Bad.
That's right. You wrong. You are fake news. Now let me explain to you why the cockatrice is amazing.
Because you have 4 of them?
I do. I have 3 of them. But yes, now it's time. We got to get education going here. It's time to get educated. Why are cockatrices amazing? Let's talk about it, shall we? Okay. Cockatrice is a 8-wound model with a 12-inch fly speed and a 6-up save. Look out for that bad boy. Now, here's what's relevant about the cockatrice. He's 100 points. And you know what he's not?
A behemoth.
He is not a behemoth. Okay?
Correct.
So he is not limited by your behemoth cap. He is also summonable at 5 points.
Mm-hmm.
At 5 points, that is achievable in the first turn in a couple of different easy builds things. Okay? And his Petrifying Gaze, which is Blood Boil. Like, his Petrifying Gaze is just Blood Boil. 4-up D6 mortal wounds. That's what it is. But it's a Blood Boil you get to move first and then do. Right?
Not if you
Or summon onto the board.
But
or I'm saying,
But summon on 9 inches away.
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And you
So
can.
he can still crack you. And like attack profile wise, he's fine. Like he makes a bunch of attacks. They're all fairly underwhelming, but they're whatever. He gets like 8 attacks.
At 100 points.
Okay.
Whatever.
Yep. This guy should be in everyone's pocket as a summon. That is my argument. He is a fantastic 5-point summon that will not always have a role. I'm not saying like every game you're summoning this guy. Nope. Definitely not. Wrong. That is not what I said. If that's what you heard, unhear it. What I said is that there are going to be games where you will be able to summon this guy on quite cheaply and attempt to blood boil their hero right off the table because they will leave a hero in the back line on a back point on an objective and you will walk on and melt his face. Right? With this dumb flying bird.
So you're saying it's basically a hell cannon.
I'm saying it's basically a hell cannon. I'm saying that because he's uncapped, you should take an army with 8 of them and swarm things and blood boil the living crap out of them and get 46 mortal wounds. It seems like an expensive 46 mortal wounds for 800 points. But no, I like it. I like the kind.
At the same time, it is 80 wounds in models.
Sure.
True.
Yeah, like he's not horribly costed for what he is. Yes, you can shoot him down. Who's shooting down the cockatrice? Who is bothering? And if they are, congratulations on your wasted shots. Like I love everything about the cockatrice. I think everybody should have a cockatrice in your pocket. That's what I'm saying.
He's a guy I would
take
summon,
the next step from there.
but I don't think I'd pay points for him.
That's fair.
I
have no issue
don't
with that.
know. I think I might. I think I might pay 100 points for him. Like especially in some of the things where I get to like like if I could always ambush.
No, he doesn't get that because
He's a monster of chaos. He's not Warherd, Thunderscorn, or Braidherd, so he'll never get to ambush from Darkwalker.
Yeah, he doesn't get any of that. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't do it. I'd summon him, but I won't pay points for him. That 100 points would give me another Bray Shaman.
Sure. He's very interesting and viable now because he lost that behemoth keyword.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That is the real secret magic because he's not competing with your Gorgon, Chimera, whatever anymore. Okay.
Mhm.
Chimera.
Yeah. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Chimera and the inferior version of him, the Chaos Giant. All right, let's blow through these guys real quick. Chimera is one of the most deadly, scary, awful, killer, ridiculous monsters in the world. If there's ever a reason to go to 2-drop, it's for a Chimera. This guy is your 10-point summon. He is hot, screaming, death. This thing is murder incarnate. In a like Gav spawn with that bonus, with the spell that bonuses him, this guy is redonk.
I mean, base 15 melee attacks before any added attacks.
He's
Okay.
he's got again, if he summons on, he's got a 14-inch just straight up D6 mortal wound shot.
Mm-hmm.
Whack, no 4+, 14-inch range. He walks on the board, something in 14-inch range, it just goes click, click, boom. Okay.
When he comes on at 9 inches,
each.
hold on. To add on to that, yes, he walks on and fires it off at a D6 mortals. And when he comes in at 9 inches, he has a 7 to charge because he has a base +2 to charge.
Correct. Yep.
So this
Exactly.
guy walks on at 9s.
He's 10 summoning points, though. He is the most expensive.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
He's super expensive. I don't disagree.
Sure.
I'm just saying, I would never summon a Gorgon for 10. Like,
No.
this guy's my
God,
10-point choice. That's a joke of a comparison. On the summoning table. I can see it in the army making the description or making the decision because you've got to pay a drop for this guy, right? Like that's the reality. If you're including him in your list, he's a drop, and so that's a valid choice. Whereas the Gorgon can easily slot into like one of all the battalions.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's 3 attacks, down the line. He's got a neg-3 Ren D3 damage attack, a neg-1 2 damage attack, and a neg-1 D6 damage attack. Yes, this stuff goes down quickly. If he, if he gets wounded, okay, cool. Again,
You know what doesn't go down? His movement. I like that his movement doesn't degrade.
Sure. He flies 10-inch base speed, and again, if you summon him on and drop a hot 7 on the charge, not a tough thing with a reroll from a command point. He is unwounded when he goes in there. That's for darn sure.
Add in some cogs. That 7's a 5.
Oh, Lord. Lordy. It should also be pointed out that because of the way the Gav spawn ability works, right? Because it does trigger in the combat phase, as you pointed out, because I had pointed that out earlier, so I could come mention it here, that depending on how you charge him, you can charge him to near one of your other Chaos spawn, right? And then fire off that ability and go bing, 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 popcorn at the start of the combat phase, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even if he just summoned on.
Yep.
So he's great. He is as good as the Chaos Gargant is bad. Chaos Gargant's worthless. I know we all want him to be good, guys.
It's one rule that makes him bad. One rule.
I know. In my heart, I want this guy to be so good. I love this giant so much. As has been stated before, like I have an army of giants. I have 13 giants. I love giants in my heart of hearts. I think they're amazing. I love this model. I love all giant models. This guy is cool because he went up to like a 6 damage base attack on his neg, 3 rend ed butt. It's an amazing thing. He has he has a stuff him in his bag attack like he's had where he can pick dudes up and get rid of them. He can remove particular units. He can get whipped into a frenzy now where he gets +1 attack for suffering a mortal wound. He's 180 points. I want this guy to work. I really do. The problem is he's an 8-inch move walker that if he suffers 3 wounds, one of which you just did by whipping him, his 6 damage attack immediately goes to D6. And anytime he charges, regardless of the distance, he fails a 1/6 of his charges, period. Like that percentage goes up, right? Like the farther away you are, obviously the more you fail because like if you're 6 inches away, then that means if you're 6 inches away, then that means 2, 3, 4, 5 all fail, right? As would for anybody. But in addition, any double 8, double 10, double 12 fails. This guy cannot make a 12-inch charge. It's not possible. That's an actual impossibility for a giant. He is the only thing in the game that can't charge 12 inches. Because the only way you get 12 on 2 dice is boxcars. And if he rolls boxcars, he fails his charge and falls over and potentially wounds your own models. He's got to stand alone, because if there's anybody else near him, he will start doing mortal wounds to them when you fail that charge. Okay.
Yep.
Just a shame.
I just that drunken stagger rule is a killer. They got rid of it for the big giant, for the bone grinder in Forge World, and it was the best thing they ever did. If they would have got rid of it here, like, you can put his points up. If he loses that, I'm okay with it. I'd rather have a functional monster, right? Because the problem is, you know what I hate? Failing 16 plus %, 16 to 20% or whatever it boils down to, of my 3-inch charges.
Right.
Yeah.
That is a real depressing scenario when you are on a 3-inch charge and you roll 2 3s.
Right.
It's pretty terrible. And, like, I love monsters. I love things that are silly and wacky, but that is just infuriating to me.
Yep.
Sure.
So I can't run him. Like, if it doesn't bother you, if you don't mind the wackiness of that stuff happening, then I say go nuts. Right?
Yep.
And just be careful to try to screen him from shooting, because he is very susceptible. 3 wounds get on this guy and suddenly he is in a bad place. Like, he shuts down at 3 wounds. He goes to 6-inch move, 2d6 club swings, and his headbutt becomes a d6, which is still good, but, d6 damage instead of a 6 damage attack. It's a big hit. Moving something from an average, or from 6 damage to an average of 3.5 is a big deal.
Yeah.
So I wish he was better, but, like, here's the thing I'll say: if you ask me, Jabberslythe or Chaos Gargant, because they're both about the same price, I'm taking the Jibba Jabba every time.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way the Jabberslythe isn't better than this guy, and he's 20 points cheaper.
Right.
Yep.
So
very true.
All right, Razor Gores are worthless. Now let's talk about Skyfight. Let's talk about all the Zangor stuff. So we can bring
Beacon Missile.
Holy crap, we've been going for 3 hours. I did not realize what time it was.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. So the Zangor Shaman, obviously they moved the bonuses onto him, but he's still basically the Zangor Shaman. 6-inch, 16-inch move, dude. Now, with the Boon of Mutation, Tom, was Zangor previously the bolded keyword?
Previously it was a non-bolded.
Okay. Now it's the bolded keyword.
Which means enlightened.
Okay.
And Skyfires.
Yeah, like, I hear that. I do.
I'll take some more enlightened.
Yeah. I like, as I read this now, and I wanted to get your feedback on it, because they moved it to a bolded keyword, right? And
right.
Zangor Enlightened and those have that keyword. So
no, they don't.
Now, is because they have the Zangor Skyfire keyword. Is that the key?
Yep.
Yes. I think the only person who has the actual. That's why I wanted to talk through.
Yep. Doesn't
They're
work.
They're not just Zangor anymore.
They are not just Zangor. They are Zangor Enlightened, so it does not work.
There you go. So yeah, it's still just Zangor. Cool.
Yep.
I wanted to talk it through with you live here, because I saw it and I was like, wait, they changed that to the bolded keyword, and I wanted to figure out why.
I don't know why, but the keywords are like, the keywords don't represent that. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not how that works. So it would have to say, like, they would have to have the Zangor keyword alone. Right.
They'd have to have Zangor and Zangor.
So I stand by my statement of Shaman, because they're still 180.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
That's really like, so he is competing in the same space as a Shaggoth,
but he can be a double caster.
Well, he can. He's also zippy quick, and he also makes your Zangor battle line.
Right. And he can reroll one or both of the.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a mistake, by the way.
It's not.
Because
on the profile it says battle line, and then next to it says battle line in a Beast of Chaos army only if the general is a Zangor Shaman. Yes. I'm assuming the second note, raw, the second note would conditionalize the first.
Yeah, he's
but
conditional.
It needs an FAQ. You're right. I was assuming it was a conditional.
Yeah, it'll get FAQ'd. It'll be on there. They're conditional.
So they got even worse because they're not even battle line and Zinch armies now.
Not necessarily
this new profile takes over for that.
This is the new profile for that scroll. Yeah.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Yep.
So they have now lost battle line status in Zinch armies. Yeah, my big frustration is that that in Zinch armies.
Do they though? Because in a Zinch army, under the rules of the Zinch, they could be battle line if Zinch allegiance, and that would hold true.
It doesn't say that.
It doesn't say that for a Beast of Chaos army.
Well, here's the thing: we're not talking about Zinch. We're not talking about Zinch. We're talking about beasts. So sorry about your luck, Zinch.
Right, like I just and my big critique was that I bought Zangor to play in Zinch, and now they are uniformly worse in Zinch. There is no world where anything was made better in that for them, and that's it's disappointing.
And you're very sad about that, and that sadness is registered. Now let's go ahead and talk about him in the army we are discussing. Because that army that you mentioned isn't this army, and who cares? That doesn't matter to this discussion. Because you can't play both of those things at once. You're making a choice. They are mutually exclusive. Skyfire is obviously the big change there. Was Skyfires went down 20 points, and now their arrow is only on unmodified 6s, which might honestly be better in the current meta of as we mentioned, neg 1s.
Yeah, with a lot of neg 1s.
Sure. Yeah. But the winner chicken dinner in this whole thing is the Zangor Enlightened. The Enlightened now have a separate profile. You can run them on foot at 3 for 100, or you can run them on the disc at 3 for 140. I can't imagine you're not running them on the disc, even at that cheaper rate.
As an aside, I know we're not talking about Zinch, but the battalions that had Enlightened in them in Zinch now only allow Zangor on foot because they didn't have it it just said Zangor Enlightened, Zangor Enlightened on Zinch disc. So now all those battalions require you to run those Zangor on foot.
Well, clearly we need some FAQs for that Zinch stuff. For that army that we're not talking about. All right. So, anyways, Enlightened are amazing at 12 wounds for 140 points at a 16-inch move. They're ridiculous. These guys are just powerhouses.
They can do some work with their attacks.
Yeah.
So what's the right size unit to run these guys in?
6.
1 unit of 6, and then 2 or 3 units of 3.
I go the other way. 2 units of 6, 1 unit of 3.
Do you run any Skyfires, or do you depend on Ungors?
Yes. It depends on what the army is. I would say on Raiders. Yeah, sure. It depends on how you're building the army. I could see argument for 1 or 2 units of normal Skyfires, or I could see arguments for just masses of Raiders, right? And you put the Raiders in and you corner touch with the Skyfires to limit the amount of attacks you can gain back on your Enlightened. I apologize. You corner tag with your Enlightened, right?
Yeah.
And then you force them to basically put most of their hitting power back into the Ungor. Ungor attack first.
Yep.
Do whatever they do. You've got them corner tagged. You pile in with your 3. That's why I like 3, because you can then get in. And 3 of these guys will do a ton of work, right? Mm-hmm. There's all sorts of good ways to get these guys up attacking, up bonuses, and these guys just go to town, man. Because they did gain an extra spear attack. 3 of these dudes make 10 attacks now out of the spears.
Yeah.
Right? The boss is at 4, and then the other 2 are at 3. And these guys are basically going to, assuming the shaman's around somewhere, which is not that hard to imagine, these guys are on basically, 3s and 3s re-rollable, assuming you've attacked in the right direction, right? Neg 1, Ren, 2 damage.
Yeah.
That is hard hitting.
Oh, yeah.
And then the discs as well, right? I mean, then you've got the discs coming in with D3 attacks each. On 4s and 3s, neg 1 rend. 4s and 3s rerollable, neg 1 rend, D3 damage. So these guys just have a ton of hitting power. I think they're stupid good for their cost. And because they're Brayherd now, they synergize with all of this Brayherd nonsense we've said.
Yeah.
Right? All of this. Between ambushing with these guys and getting all the spell bonuses on these guys and just every nonsense thing we've talked about. the 3-inch bonus to their movement, right?
Because that's
For
what
the shaman.
19-inch move.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's just so much these guys do. And as far as normal Zangor go, I don't hate them. Obviously, the big change with normal Zangor was that they got rid of the like scaling tons of bonus attacks.
Mm-hmm.
They still have 1, right? So they still go up to like 3 and 2 and whatever.
At 30 blocks. At 30 blocks, they were at 4 attacks or 3 bonus attacks per model.
Right.
And now that's come down. The other thing that I would say, like the big bonus, so like in general, it was an across the board nerf, no point change. The one exception to that is the Arcanite Shield, which would technically give them the chance, like they could now run more offense by running more double blades.
Yeah.
If that sticks.
If that sticks and doesn't get
I would just say wait another week before you build your Zangor is all I would say. Wait for that FAQ to drop.
So a quick question. I forget because I don't run a lot of regenerating armies. Can you add more models to a unit than you started with?
No. But this isn't regenerating.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking
Are you
about
talking about adding from the shaman?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not regenerating. You're not regenerating wounds. You're adding models. It's totally different. You can't regenerate more than you started with. But I can add models to this unit.
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, like, overall, I think the Zine stuff, like, the Enlightened are the big winner to me. I don't hate normal Zangor. I think they have good synergy with this stuff. I think the Shamans...
You are de-incentivized to run blocks of 30 now.
I agree with that. I think they're good as tenors now.
Tenors, and then I would argue that potentially I could see a function for 20, like running a 20.
I think 30 is just so expensive.
I think 30 is so expensive. I think a 20 makes sense, though.
As Halo said, the answer is if it says return... No, but that's not returning, I don't think. Think that's
it's not. It says add to.
Yeah, just add one to it. Yeah.
Correct. You can grow that unit.
Yep. Okay, so let's talk about the endless spells, and then let's wrap this up, guys. So we have 3 endless spells here: the Dire Flock, the Doomblast Urgehorn, and the Wildfire Taurus. Okay.
The Taurus is awesome.
The Taurus is... I hate it. I love the bull. I think it's an amazing thing. I think the problem with it is I don't know the world where this doesn't kill you. Okay? So let's talk about what the Taurus does. Wildfire Taurus is set up wholly within 12 inches of the caster. It's the big bull. It's the big flaming bull, right?
Yep, and it flies 12.
Yep, and you can immediately make a move. It flies 12. So it's got a heck of a movement on it, right?
Yep.
24 inches, basically. After it's moved, each unit that it's moved over and each other unit that's within an inch of it at the end. So it's got that whole thing where it can land next to people and still tag them, which is cool. Takes D3 mortal wounds. But if that unit has 10 or more models, it's D6. And if it inflicts any wounds on a unit, that unit fights at the end of the next combat phase. Yep. Whoa. In other words, like it moves to last. You have to pick everything else to fight first.
Right.
Okay. That is unbelievably powerful if you're doing multiple, if you have multiple attackers going into anything, right? Like you shut them off. It's the old Forest Dragon Breath, right? Mm-hmm. The problem is I don't know how this doesn't immediately get turned on you, and this is a nightmare spell for you. Because predatory spells, it's so easy for you to lose control of them because you want to double turn. And this army wants to double turn real bad. And as soon as you do that, they're going to take that Taurus, turn it around, and stomp over your face. And most of your units are units of more than 10, right? And most of your units, if they fight last, are dead. Because they're like 5 and 6 up save idiots who can't take a hit.
It only moves 12, right?
Yeah, moves 12.
It flies 12.
Right, and you set it up 12 from you.
Yeah, so it's 24.
From the caster. Not necessarily from where your units are after they fought that round.
Right, because the assumption is that you're going to fight with units that this thing is touched. Right. So what I'll say is this, Vince. This, by the way, is your answer. This is how you alpha strike. Mm-hmm. is you lead with this spell, you plant this into like the crux of multiple units, and then you hit all of your army against those 2 units or whatever, where this abuts or has damaged multiple units. And then all of your stuff fights first, all of their stuff fights last. It doesn't matter if you fight last, like if you lose the double turn or whatever. If you win the double turn, you're just going to keep this roll tide going. Like if you get to choose, you're just going to send that Taurus forward and gig a bunch of their other units for the next combat phase. Otherwise, they're going to send in your stuff, and it's not going to matter. They're not going to have anything left.
Yeah,
so
I don't buy it.
This is the only way.
It's too risky.
Well, and the reality is, like, you can unbind it if you want.
Sure, I understand.
It's on a 6. Like you can dispel it if you need to. Like it's not hard to get rid of.
Yeah, I hate all in early Alpha Strike builds because that's like you're just basically rolling a die. You might as well start the game and roll a die and say on a 5+ or on a 1 or 2 I lose the game.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
That's what early alphas are.
Yeah, and like good luck. You're gonna roll that 1 or 2 at some point. Like I hate like early alphas are just always a loser.
Well, what if you're not totally committing to an alpha? What if you send this out? It does a little bit, but you use it with some Ungors that are in ambush coming in. They make a charge. They get to attack in. They can thin out some of somebody's,
Well, 1-on-1, if you only have
units.
like 2 units on the board fighting, who cares? Right? This is good if you have like to make this have value, you need multi-engagement and multi-tagging, right? Like in a perfect world, you cruise this thing and you hit 2 units, like you land in the center of 2 blocks, right? And you crack both of them and you shut both of them off, and then your units sweep in around the sides where the bull is in the middle, right? And then you're fighting with everything before they go, and you're wiping these 2 units off the table. Right. And that's a cool story, bro. But good luck. Not to Liam Neeson you, but good luck.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, it's just
sure.
The reality of how that works most of the time is that thing gets turned around, points at you. Your weak, armorless guys get stomped over easily. Like 1 or 2 of them get hit, and then the entire enemy army basically high tides you.
Well, yeah.
Because of your spell.
For me, 2 things. 1, I'm not paying 100 points for this thing. I'll spend my 100 points on a cockatrice.
Yes.
For D6 mortal wounds.
Sure.
2, me personally, I will not any endless spell that's predatory that can be turned against me. I'm not taking. I don't care what it is.
The risk on this one. Well, I don't mind sometimes if a predatory spell can be turned against me. Like that is to say, some of them it can end up being worth it because of how you can move around it or how you might deal with it. The challenge with this one is it's just so it's so crippling if it hits you, right?
Yeah.
Like I'll eat a purple sun before I'll eat this.
Yeah.
Okay. Because this thing really does spell the doom of your army. If it gets over your serious combat blocks, because nobody in your army can take a hit.
So would you say that it's a Doom Bull?
I would say it's a Doom Bull, yeah. The one I like is the Doom Blast Dirgehorn. And because it's not predatory, you pick a point on the battlefield, you set this thing up, and basically it subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by units within 3 inches of this model, and Beasts of Chaos are not affected by it, right? And then at the start of every round, the 3 inches grows. Let me tell you why I like this thing.
They have to unbind it every round.
Well, sure. 1, it forces them to try to unbind. Yeah, sure. And if they don't, you're obviously just going to cast this on an objective you're trying to hold.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's what it is. This is just called protect a single objective.
Yep.
Like you throw out the horn, it sits on the objective. It's a big friendly model that's just taking up space where they can fit around the darn thing, around the objective, right? I understand that it's not counting as an objective holder. That's not what I mean.
Right.
I just mean like it's taking up physical space, right? And it's broadcasting a neg 1 to hit aura around the place where you know for sure there's going to be fighting. If they dispel it, great. You chewed off 1 of their casts. Neat.
Yep.
If they don't, then you stand a very large tactical advantage in defending that objective. Cool. And an army with weak armor giving the enemy neg 1 to hit is pretty good.
Yep.
So, and it's 60
Yes,
points.
it is.
It's not terrible. Now that being said, I'd never take it. I'm just saying that's the use for it. Again, I wouldn't take any of these endless spells.
Really?
And I think the birds are straight up worthless.
Oh,
yes,
no,
the
no,
birds
no.
are like neg 2 bravery.
Yeah, if you're playing with
That's
the
what they do.
siege that make additional people flee, the
Yeah.
birds are all about it.
Yeah.
There's like all talks of discussion too about using the birds to block movement because you send the birds out, then you run up into them. They have to move, so you can put them. You can essentially turn one, send the birds all the way up against your opponent's line, and pin them back in.
Sure.
Yeah, because they have to go around them.
Yeah, you have to go around or stop
unless
at them.
they also fly or whatever. You know,
Right.
On, and then they just move over the dumb things.
Yeah,
and don't care.
Right.
Piss off ghosts. Piss off ghosts. Look, I hope I'm proven wrong. I would love to see somebody use the birds well. I'm just saying, like, I clock all three of these as like neat, but I'm not using them. I mean, I own them. I'm gonna put them on the table and paint them. I like them as models, but I don't think I'd use them in like a serious list. I would probably use if I was just going for a fun time, sure, I'll put that Taurus on the table and let's roll, baby. Like that's like for fun lists, that Taurus looks amazing.
Yeah,
because that model is pimp. It is a super sweet model.
Yeah.
All right.
I could possibly fit that horn into my list and run it.
Sure.
I like
at 60. It's
hit.
Not too terrible. Yeah, penalties hit are good. It's just like it's also going up against like Geminids, but the difference is that it can't which is also
it'll never gig
you
you.
think, but it'll never gig you. Yes, that's what I like about it. The horn is safe.
Yep.
Right. I don't have to worry about somebody else getting it and sending it back against me. Because again, the problem with Geminids, it's neg 1 to hit, but if that gets turned on me, much of your army is very.
Well, not only that horn doesn't move.
Correct.
Right. It just
it's not
so
predatory.
there's no moving it out of the area though, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no.
And so like unlike Geminids, like you could potentially get rid of it. With this, like it's there. Like you have to you have to dispel it if you want to get rid of it.
Which it's a low casting, so it's easy to dispel, but now
a 7's a 7. How many? We all know how hard it is to cast a 7. It can be hard to dispel a 7.
It's a 6.
No, it casts on a 6, which means you've got to roll a 7 to dispel it.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
True.
Yep. All right, well, gentlemen, I think we're 3.5 hours in, and we've more or less covered this tome. We broke it down. We talked about some synergies. We talked about some fun lists. We'll probably come back and do another show on these guys in like 2 or 3 months after they've played. After we've seen people build more lists, we'll do a deep dive on some list building, and we'll talk about we'll see how that all breaks out. But for now, I think we talked about some fun options and get going. Anthony, buddy, I'm glad you came along on the marathon with us. I don't know if you set the record here or not. If you did, I'm going to have Tyler on again so we can break it. This was a good one.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. To all of you out there watching, thank you for sticking with us through the mega review of the book. I hope we gave you some fun thoughts. As always, we appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next Wednesday.